What is going on, everyone? Thank you all so much for tuning in at this time. Anybody that's watching this in real time, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Anybody that's watching this on the replay, thank you for taking the time. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So I want to talk about Zach Lavine and Dejounte Murray, kind of go over the pros and cons, kind of, answer some questions, do all that stuff, and give my personal opinion. Also hear your guys' thoughts and opinions as well, as usual. So again, if you're watching this replay, leave a comment down in the comment section. But starting off with Zach Lavine, right? Because that was the first sort of introductory grade, right? That's the big name that's been going around for the longest. Zach Lavine, to me, and I get a lot of comments that are like, "Oh, you really want Zach Lavine, or you really, are adamant about Zach Lavine and stuff." And it's not that. To me, it's about what's realistic, what is the cost, and what is the impact to said trade, right? Do I think Zach Lavine is the best option out there for the Lakers? No, right? But I think he's the most realistic option, right? Even Dejounte Murray, who I'll dive into here in a moment, like Dejounte Murray, I just don't believe is realistic. Atlanta traded 3 firsts and a pick swap for Murray. And what? They're going to send him to us for D'Lo, a first, and a swap? Like, and even then, I'm not sold on just the gap between the two. But again, we'll touch on him in a moment. Zach Lavine, I lean towards because I just believe he is the most likely target. I don't think he's going to cost much because we're doing Chicago a massive favor. Chicago can't bring this guy back. They're going to have to bring him back slightly just so like the Lakers and other teams that may be interested can see him play a little bit and make sure that like the injury didn't just like cripple him this season, right? So they're going to have to do that, but they need to get rid of Zach Lavine. He's not doing good with the coach. He's not doing good with the organization. There were reports last season that DeMar DeRozan and him weren't seen eye to eye. Him and DeMar DeRozan are redundant, right? On top of that, you add in that the Chicago Bulls have been playing great without him. So now what? You're going to inject that into your team, into your roster. It's just, I don't see that making sense for the Chicago Bulls. So I don't think you're going to have to give up a first. Right. And I think you'd be able to get another piece like an Andre Drummond. Alex Caruso, I don't really think that that's a possibility, but could you get like an Andre Drummond in the deal and like a Torian Craig? Right now, you're trading some young guys. You're trading, Rui, D'Lo. Maybe you're throwing in, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Maxwell Lewis, or something like that, and then you're getting back, 3 rotation guys for it. You're gonna still have the depth. You're gonna have the roster. You're gonna have everything locked up. And what Zach Lavine does, similar to Dejounte Murray, is he gives you that athletic guard, right? The Lakers have no athleticism at the guard position, right? Now, Dejounte Murray is a better defensive guy than Zach Lavine. I understand that. But defense isn't really necessarily our problem. We're 6th in defense, and we're 26th in offense, right? We need that offensive injection. There's no doubt Zach Lavine is a better scorer, right? Dejounte Murray has his struggles finishing at the rim. Yes, he's shooting 38% from 3 this year, but we know how that looks, right? Players shoot great, and then they come to the Lakers, and they're terrible. I would trust that he's going to resort back to 34% or something like that rather than the 38%. Also, Zach Lavine is better off the ball. He's like 44, 45% on catch and shoot threes. That's my biggest concern with Dejounte Murray, right? The defense is a concern. I understand people's arguments of like he may get better. I'm not doubting that. Right? Like when I made the previous video talking about how bad Dejounte Murray has been defensively over D'Lo and stuff like that, right? It wasn't to say like, oh, he's not going to be better. It's to highlight the pros and the cons because we can't just look at the sunshines and rainbows, right? I mean, look at the Russell Westbrook trade. Russell Westbrook, you just look at the pros. It's like, man, athletic guard, can get to the basket at will, pick up our pace, but then you start looking at the other stuff, and it's like, there's no way this is going to work. Now, Dejounte Murray, I'm not saying wouldn't work or would work as bad as Russ, but he's not a good three-point shooter. He's not good off the ball, which LeBron James is going to still have the ball in his hands 90% of the time, right? Like, that's the big issue, right? Even with Atlanta, he struggles because when he has the ball, he's great. But next to Trae Young, who has the ball 90% of the time, he's not as effective, right? Dejounte Murray isn't a good finisher at the rim, right? So my concern is a lot of what D'Lo's issues are going to be Dejounte Murray's issues because D'Lo is great with the ball. he's one of the most, he's been, when he gets the opportunity, he's been one of the most efficient guys. One of the best plays in all of basketball is the D'Lo Anthony Davis pick and roll. It's literally one of the best plays in all of basketball when D'Lo gets that opportunity. But you see, when he's on the court with LeBron, he doesn't get the ball. He's playing off ball. He has to shoot. But at least he's been good off the ball in his ability to shoot the ball. Zach LaVine would provide that. Zach LaVine is much better off the ball. Yes, you need to give him the ball at times, but we need that. We don't have anybody that you can just give the ball to and immediately just go get a bucket, right? Or generate offense, right? LeBron, he's more like, yeah, when his shot's falling, he can go get a bucket, hit the three, hit the mid, whatever, right? But more times than not, his offense comes from, I'm just going to put my head down and get to the basket, right? Anthony Davis, yes, his three balls, he's shooting much better this year. His three balls fallen, his 15 out is fallen, but he's still more of like around the rim, 10 feet in, right? A guy like Zach LaVine, you can give the ball to, and he could just go to work, right? The offense, how many times do we see the Lakers offense? We got like a 3 or 5 minute stretch where nobody scored, right? The Lakers have not scored the basketball, right? Well, to have a guy like Zach LaVine that you can just give the ball to and say, hey, go get us a bucket, go get to the foul line, go do something, boom, he has that ability to do so, right? And he can finish through contact. He's an excellent finisher with his athleticism compared to Dejounte Murray, who, again, he hasn't been great finishing the basketball. That's been a big knock on him his entire career, is finishing at the rim, right? I don't doubt that Dejounte Murray is more – Dejounte Murray gives you more balance, but LaVine is more dynamic on the offensive side, right? And I think that that's where we need to lean more. I also think LaVine would be cheaper. I don't think you'd have the issues with like, oh, I don't question LaVine's fit, right? There might be a little sample size, little trouble to start, but I think for the most part, I think he'll fit rather easily because the Lakers are just going to need him to do what he does best, score the basketball. There's not going to be any questions about his role. Where Dejounte Murray, there will be questions about his role when he's on the court with LeBron James, where it's like, hey, LeBron's got the basketball. You have to play off the ball, which you're not very good at. He's been better this year. Don't get me wrong. I'll give him credit. He's adapted better this year than he did last year, but still, he's not great. D'Lo's been much better off the ball than Dejounte Murray has. Now, as far as the trades go, right, there's no doubt Dejounte Murray is better than D'Angelo Russell. I've never once said otherwise. Even in the videos that I've talked about how I think he is better. And I do think he is an upgrade. But he doesn't fix all of our problems. If you can get other pieces, like the beauty of Dejounte Murray is, one, his contract this season, it's only $18 million, so you just have to match $18 million. But then you can go and get other pieces. If we're trading just for Dejounte Murray, then I'd rather just go get Zach LaVine, right? Because I don't think you're going to have to give up a first. I don't think you're going to have to give up anything significant, right? But if you can get like Dejounte Murray plus a Clint Capella plus, maybe like a Sadiq Bey, now we're talking, because you could get all three of those guys for the price of Zach LaVine. So if you could work something out to where, you're giving up D'Lo, Rui, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Maxwell Lewis, and Max Christie with like a first and a pick swap, and you're taking back something like, Murray, a Capella, and a Sadiq Bey, and then they're throwing in some random guy just so that way you have 15 guys, or you convert one of your two ways, or you do whatever, right? Buyout market, whatever it is. Like, those are the things that then I start leaning towards, like, okay, like Atlanta has the pieces that could fix many of our issues, right? So, like, I think Atlanta has more impactful pieces. Like, I think Clint Capella is better than Andre Drummond, right? And I think he would be a better fit than, like, Vu, right? So, like, if you could get Capella and you could get, like I said, a Sadiq Bey, or could you get, like, a Bogdanovich, or could you get, like, a Hunter, something like that. If you could get other pieces alongside Dejounte Murray, then great. To me, Dejounte Murray is like it's like, oh, we got Murray and we got this, or we got this and we got Dejounte Murray. If you're just trading for Dejounte Murray, like, I don't think that makes us that much better. I think it makes us slightly better, but I think you're going to have a lot of questions with the fit, right? Again, he can't shoot. He can shoot the mid-range. He could shoot from the outside. But at that point, I'd rather, like, take my chances and maybe we get DeMar DeRozan, right? Because DeMar DeRozan is more dynamic in that regard. it's one of those things where like I lean towards Zach Lavine, and I understand contract, right, is an issue. But like I said, the Lakers roster is locked up regardless, right? No matter what happens, the Lakers are locked up. Even if they don't make a move, our roster is our roster for the next like 3 to 4 years, right? So if you get Zach Lavine, I just don't see that having this huge impact because you're looking at vet minimum guys every season anyway. So to me, give me the better scorer. Give me the guy because the Lakers need that scorer, right? I do have concerns that if you trade D'Lo, now you don't have that other ball handler, but you can address that in like a minor trade, or you just need somebody that can kind of just execute in the minutes that LeBron James isn't there, right? So maybe you're bringing somebody in off of the buyout. Maybe you're bringing in a free agent. Maybe, you're working out some minor trade to get some guy, right? Or maybe you're looking somewhere else. Maybe you're working out a 3-team deal, right? I do have concerns. So the contract to me isn't as big of a deal as many think. It is. I'm not saying it's not any issue. It's definitely an issue, especially if it doesn't work out. My biggest concerns are the injury history, right? But I say this all the time. You cannot make decisions based on injury history because you can't predict injury, right? Unless the guy is like playing, 5 games a year, right? Then, yeah. But you look at the last 2 years, Zach Lavine played like 77 games and like 69 or 70 games, right? So if we get that Zach Lavine, then the Lakers are fine. If you get the Zach Lavine that played like 40 games, then the Lakers are in trouble, right? So, but you don't know which Zach Lavine you're going to get. But you also have to take into account for injury history. You have to take into account the fact that he's not going to have as big of an impact role, right? So he's not going to be the number 1 or number 2 guy. He's going to be able to just score and do what he does best, but he can lean on LeBron. He can lean on AD. And if that works, now you don't have to play Lavine 36 minutes like he's playing on the Bulls. You don't have to play LeBron 36 minutes like he's playing on the Lakers. You don't have to play Anthony Davis 40 minutes like he is on the Lakers, right? Because you have now that third guy that you can kind of cut all their minutes down. So the injury history, I don't think that could be effective because then we never would have traded for Anthony Davis, right? Why trade for Anthony Davis? He's injured every year, right? Like, why do this? Why do that? Like, we should never trade for Joel Embiid. We should never trade. Like, you can't factor. It needs to be a thought. You have to take, again, as I mentioned earlier in this video, you have to look at the whole picture, especially if you're Rob Pelinka. You have to look at the pros and you have to look at the cons. You have to look at the negatives and you have to look at the positives, right? And the contract and the injury are definitely negatives, but I don't think it's something that is like the deciding factor if the pros and the cons are in that area. The other thing is personality, right? Is he going to be willing to come in, accept his role, play the part that is needed from him, right? At least attempt to play defense, right? I'm not saying he has to be all-world lockdown defense, but at least play some defense. But even then, we have enough defenders to mask. Like, our problem, like, look at the starting unit that Darvin Ham has went with. If you had Zach Lavine, that lineup would work perfectly because you could go with Prince and Vando, or you could go with Reddish and Vando because you have Lavine, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, 3 guys that by themselves could go get you 40 in a quarter, right? So now you have enough offense, you have enough flow, you have everything. And then if you go with Prince, now you have all that. So I personally think that Lavine is cheaper. I think that Lavine, it would be more dynamic on the offensive side. I think the fit would be better, right? I think he's the most realistic because I just don't see the Lakers being able to trade for Dejounte Murray. And I think you could convince Chicago to give you other stuff besides Lavine, right? Again, I don't necessarily mean like an Alex Cruz or anything like that, but you could get something like a Andre Drummond and maybe like a Torrey Craig, right? And you can make the money work and you can do that stuff. But again, like the money, the $40 million plus that he makes, again, it is an issue, but it's not a huge issue. The Lakers are locked up cap-wise regardless, right? And they would be locked up cap-wise regardless with Murray. I just think at least Lavine, he's more dynamic. He gives you exactly what you need for the Lakers, which is that offensive firepower, that offensive punch. Even his bad games are better than D'Lo and Reeves' good games. I lean towards Lavine more. It's not that I think Lavine is the answer to all our problems. I don't. I just think he's the most realistic. He makes the most sense. He's not going to cost anything. Like, the Lakers should not have to give up a first to get Zach Lavine. They shouldn't, right? And if they do, then they messed up. But I just think that, obviously maybe something else becomes available, right? Maybe between now and then something else comes, maybe some other star becomes available and that person pushes to the Lakers. I don't know. We'll see, right? There's a lot of time between now and the trade deadline. But if my decision is just Lavine or just Murray, I'm going with Lavine just because all the things that I mentioned in this video. But anyway, again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and yeah, let's dive into the chat here and all that stuff. And I will get us locked in. Give me a second. All right. Perfect. All right, there we go. All right, let me dive into the chat here, and we'll spend, good amount of time doing the chat. Now that I got out my points and my talking points and all that stuff, let's shift focus here. All right, so Ryan, D'Lo, Rui, JHS for Lavine, convert Hodge to a standard contract, can have 13 players for only 2 weeks, sign big in buyout market, use last roster spot at the end of the year, $50K only. Who do you get for $50K? I don't like. You're signing like a G League guy at that point. You're probably converting another G League guy. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, that's the problem is Lakers have to. Yeah, we're very limited because we're hard caps. We're very limited on what we have to spend with. And yeah, this is a good point too. Like I see a lot of those trades too, where it's like you're trading 7 guys for Zach Lavine, or you're trading 7 guys for Murray, and it's like you have to keep a certain amount. You can't have 10 guys on your roster. You have to keep enough. But that's why I mentioned, like, if you trade for Zach Lavine, can you get an Andre Drummond? Can you get a Torrey Craig? Now that balanced out, you basically match the money, and then there you go. Because Andre Drummond's making like $3 million this year. I think Craig's making like $3 million this year. So you could get to that extra dollar or whatever. If you have to give up a Gabe Vincent or something, basically the idea is like you do like a 4 for 3 swap or something, and then you sign, like you said, bring up a Hodge or something like that, convert them to a normal contract, because at that point you have 10 to 15 guys on your roster anyway, right? So what's going on, Daniel? Appreciate you. 60-40 is a lot closer than I thought. I'm Team Lavine. Yeah, I'm personally Team Lavine as well, for all the things I highlighted earlier. But I have more concerns about Dejounte Murray than I do Lavine. And look, I'm not saying that Dejounte Murray isn't a great player, right? And he could work and he could be fine. But he hasn't been good off the ball. And you got to keep that in mind. Like, that's the one thing I haven't heard anybody else talk about is like Dejounte Murray off the ball. Because as long as LeBron James is on this team, he's going to play off the ball. And his off the ball numbers have been terrible. He's better this year than he was last year, but he's still not good, right? Zach Lavine at least plays off the ball. He's played off the ball a good majority. Yeah, he's a lot of ISO, but he's also played a lot of off the ball in his career. Again, as I mentioned earlier, he's like 44, 45% on catch and shoot. So I lean towards Zach Lavine as far as fit, and I just think we'd be more dynamic with him. Can we get both trading Reeves and Shafino for Murray and D'Lo plus Gabe? So technically, yes. So put your tinfoil hats on. So theoretically, the Lakers could trade for both Murray and Lavine. So you could do something like, like Reeves and Rui, or Reeves and something similar to that. I'm trying to think of the money off the top of my head, but yeah, basically Reeves and Shafino for Murray. Maybe throw in a first to go get Murray, and then you do D'Lo, Rui, Gabe for Lavine. I don't even think you need to throw in Gabe. I think you just whatever. But yeah, so theoretically, yes, we could. Would it happen? No, probably not. Strange things have happened. I'm not one of those people that like to say 100% never going to happen, but I wouldn't count on it. And I don't know if that would even make sense, right? Like, theoretically, you're like, oh, you got a point guard, you got a dynamic point guard in Murray, you got a dynamic scoring guard in Lavine, you got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, you go with like Jared Vanderbilt. and now you got like the best roster in the league. And then you're like, oh, when LeBron leaves, now you have Anthony Davis, Lavine, and Murray. Like, so you're still a contending team. But I don't think that would fit at all. Like, I don't think that would work at all. Like, because you have LeBron who needs the ball, you have Murray that needs the ball, you have Lavine that needs the ball. And we've seen what happened with the Phoenix Suns. LeBron would basically have to just completely delegate. Like, he would have, like, that's what he'd have to do. I don't think that, like, see, like, you look at the Celtics, all of their pieces fit. Like, Porzingis is really good off the ball. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective. He can play off the ball. He runs a lot of pick and pops. They create plays for them. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, yeah, they are kind of ISO heavy, but they've sacrificed a lot and given the ball up, and they're still able to find theirs, and they're so effective and efficient. And then you got, like, Derek White, who's basically just a catch-and-shoot guy. And you got Drew Holiday, who's basically just been a catch-and-shoot guy most of the time. So, like, it fits. Where, like, Murray is not a great catch-and-shoot guy. Lavine would basically have to just say, okay, I'm just going to be a designated shooter now. Like, and that's it. That's the only way I see that, like, working. Where Levine's like, you know what? No more ISO for me. I don't want the ball in my hands. I'll just play the Klay Thompson role. Like, which, I mean, again, he's 45% on catch and shoots. Hey, that'd be pretty good. But I just don't see that happening. Like, I just think that would. But yes, theoretically, it could happen. I don't care. Just don't give up Reeves. I mean, I wouldn't give up Reeves for Murray or Lavine. I think it depends on what you get, right? Like, I don't think Reeves is untouchable. I just think it depends on what it is. Like, I'm not just trading Reeves for a guy that's like, you know, maybe a slight upgrade, right? Because I just think at some point there's going to be somebody that comes along where you could go, okay, that makes sense. Now we'll trade Reeves. Let's get the DeMar package call this season. That's my favorite package. I just don't think it's going to happen anymore. Like, I just don't. Because Chicago is adamant about getting Zach Lavine off the roster and then looking and seeing what does the team look like without Lavine. And they've been very good without Lavine. DeMar has now expressed, 2 or 3 times, that he wants to stay in Chicago. The owners have said that they want him in Chicago and they want to give him a new contract. Here's the problem is that, like, okay, let's say you wait for DeMar. Let's say Lavine goes to, I don't know, Miami. Just using them as an example. Say Lavine goes to Miami, right? And now you don't have anything on the table because you're waiting for the DeMar trade. And Chicago goes, we're not going to trade DeMar DeRozan. We're going to see what we got. Trade deadline passed, and now you're stuck with this team, right? Like, again, I'll take my chances. If the Lakers make it to the playoffs, give me a healthy LeBron, give me a healthy AD, and this team has shown that they can take it up a notch in, you know, heavy games. But I just my logic is like, take what is on the table rather than risk, and as long as it makes sense. Like, you don't just take what's on the table if it's illogical. But I think Zach Lavine makes a lot of sense. I think he's logical, right? I think you take, one in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, right? Take what you can get because you don't know. Look at, like, what happened when we were waiting for Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. Like, we've been just burned so many times thinking, like, oh, we're going to get this guy. And then we don't do anything and we let everyone else pass, right? I don't even hate the idea. And I actually want to make a video about this because I know not everyone watches the live streams and stuff like that. So I might put this directly in a video. But, like, I actually wouldn't mind with the Lakers, instead of going and getting a superstar, just getting position of needs, right? Like, can you just go get Andre Drummond by himself and then go get, like, Dorian Finney-Smith and, like, Royce O'Neal, right, for, like, Rui, right? And be like, hey, you don't have, like, a real power forward. Here's a power forward. You have plenty of threes, right? So here's a power forward to fill your need. We need 3-and-D style guys that do both. You get basically Dorian Finney-Smith is basically an upgraded version of Taurean Prince. So now you could go with, like if you want to do the LeBron point and 5 wide, you could go with, like, LeBron, AD, Taurean Prince, Dorian Finney-Smith, and, like, Cam Reddish or Jared Vanderbilt. And now you got a great balance of shooting, defense, everything. Or if you can get Royce O'Neal, you could go Royce O'Neal. And so you could go, like, Prince, Royce, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron, and AD. And now you basically got 5 switchable. You got 3 of your 5 guys that can shoot. When LeBron's on, he's on too. So now you got 4 guys. Like, I wouldn't even hate that. Like, just going and getting, like, complementary pieces, or maybe go and try to get, like, a Valanciunas, right? If the Pelicans continue to be bad, they were looking to ship him out this offseason, or this, past offseason, because they don't want to lose him for nothing. So could you do something like that? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But RJ coming in hot with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate hard work, Tyler. Thank you, RJ. Seriously, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really do appreciate that. Yeah. Hey, like I've said it before, I have a goal. I want to be one of the fixtures and spaces, or one of the fixtures and faces. There we go. In this space, I really do. And I believe the only way you get there is with working hard. You know, you got to stay on top of things. You know, YouTube's algorithm is is not very forgiving. So you got to stay on top of things. You got to make videos. You got to grow. You got to build. And, you know, I'm getting close. I'm closing in on 18K. And I've been doing this like, what, a month and a half? I don't even think it's been that long. Which to me, it sounds amazing. You know, I know some channels have grown bigger and stuff like that in less time and stuff. But I think to get to 18K in basically like a month and a half or a year and a half is ridiculous to me. Yeah, I'm 11 subs away. 11 subs. So hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I am 11 subs away. But RJ, seriously, thank you. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, look, I just want the Lakers to win. That's all. I just want them to be good. Can we just figure this out? Whatever it takes, figure this out and get good. That is it. If we can get there, then I will be a happy camper. But where were we? As long as D'Lo is off my team, get it done. It just depends. Because again, you can always be worse. You can always be worse. RJ. Tyler, who do you think is the most likely trade option? I personally think it's like currently right this second, it's Zach Lavine. Like I think he's the most realistic. I don't think he's going to cost much. And I think that can happen. Now, could something else develop? Of course, right? Again, there's a lot of time between now and then. And, you know, in a week, we might have somebody where I go, nope, that's the guy. Let's go get him, right? Who knows, right? Again, a lot of people are like, oh man, you're like, seem so fascinated by getting Zach Lavine. And it's not that. Like, I don't think Zach Lavine is the best option. But Donovan Mitchell, no. Like, he's a better option, yes, but we have no way of getting him. People got to take into account the limited assets and resources that we have. We don't have 4, 5, 6 first-round picks to go trade. In the offseason, if we get to like the draft day, we'd have 3 technically we could trade. So, you know, but we need to win now. I don't want to wait till next year, right? And who knows who's available next year. The reason I'm so like, go get Zach Lavine is because right now he's the most realistic. He makes the most sense. You're not going to have to sell the farm to get him, right? Like, it's just, again, like, I would love Donovan Mitchell. I would have loved Damian Lillard. I would have loved this guy. I'd love Lauri Markkanen, right? If we could get Lauri Markkanen, that'd be perfect. I just don't see it, right? Like, there's just too many teams that can outbid us, and it's a drop in the bucket for them. Like, OKC has like something like 35 first-round picks over the next like 3 years or 5 years or whatever it is. Like, they could go anybody we want. OKC could just trade for them just to keep them from us if they wanted to. I'm not saying that they would do that because that would be silly, but I'm saying, like, you got teams like the Knicks that have like a treasure trove. Like, they could give up 3 first-round picks and still have another like 8 to trade, right? Like, there's so many teams that just have so much more value than us. So unless a team, like, let's say Donovan Mitchell becomes available, and if for whatever reason the Cavs look at Rui and Austin Reeves as like, those are the 2 guys that are the missing piece for us, then great, go get Donovan Mitchell. I just don't realistically think that that's the case, right? I just think, you know, they're going to look at it as like, yeah, like Austin Reeves would be great. D'Lo would be, or Rui would be great. But, you know, we want a bunch of picks too, or we want this, or we want that. Like, it's about like, what are we actually capable of getting? Time will tell. Let's see. You chatting? Yes. Yeah, just chatting, just talking. Just wanted to hang out with everybody. We need scorers and guys who can hustle. Exactly. I'm right there with you. We do. We need several things. Coming out with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Just got home from the round trip. Oh, so you're back. Glad you made it safe. I am really happy to hear that. I'm glad you made it safe and your trip's done. I just got home from my round trip across the Pacific, sailing. Great memories with my daughter. Oh, you went with your daughters? Oh, I didn't know. I don't think you told me that. That is awesome. What an experience. Seriously. That is an incredible experience. Which team do you think is best for Rui out of all the teams? Kazu. Yes, Kazu. Thank you so much. Again, I really do appreciate that. Somebody that actually utilizes him correctly. So, one of the teams that I mentioned earlier, like the Brooklyn Nets, I think Rui would be perfect on. Because they don't have, right now they're using, Ben Simmons as a power forward, but he's, injured constantly. And then they have Cam Johnson, who's really a 3, not a 4. So I just think if you sent him to the Nets, I think if we're just talking about Rui, best option for Rui, I think the Nets, because I think the Nets would use him. Chicago, I think would use him too, right? Because then you could go with something like a White, DeMar, Williams, Rui, and Vu, which I don't know how good that'd be defensively, but offensively it'd be really good. I just think Rui would shine with the Nets. Because that's the one thing the Nets don't have, right? They got Spencer Dinwiddie. They'd have Dinwiddie. You could go Bridges, Johnson, Rui, and then Claxton, and you got basically 5 switchable guys. You're big, you're sizable, right? You got shooting, you got everything. Rui could continue to work and hone on his game and stuff. The Nets, as just a Rui fan and want to see Rui shine and have success, I think the Nets make a lot of sense. Chicago, I think would too, if he went to Chicago. But I think the Nets would be his if I could handpick a team for him, I think the Nets would be perfect for him. Because that's the one, like I said, they have a bunch of forwards and a bunch of sizable guys, but none of them are really power forwards. They're all 3s that have to play the 4. So yeah, but again, thank you so much. And I'm very glad you're back and safe and got to have that experience with your daughters. That is awesome. That is a beautiful thing. I love seeing that stuff. But where were we? We were here. Lavine injury prone and worse on defense. Yes, you're right. But again, defense is the least of our concerns right now. We're 6th in defense. Can you be better defensively? Of course. But we're 26th in offense. Give me the guy that will take us from 26th to 19th, if not better. I'd rather have that. Murray's not going to solve all of our offensive woes. Zach Lavine doesn't solve everything, but he solves 70% of it. It gives us another off-ball shooter, which we don't have, right? Again, 44, 45% on catch-and-shoot threes. So you're talking about a guy that's going to be lights out. Look at all the wide-open shots Taurean Prince gets. I mean, wide open. Imagine if Zach Lavine was getting that. And he shoots 7 threes a game. So you get another off-ball shooter, and you get a guy that could just go get a bucket whenever he wants, right? Dejounte Murray, as I mentioned earlier, not good at finishing around the rim. He struggled with that his whole career. He's not a good three-point shooter. I know he's shooting 38% this year, but we've seen lots of guys have great shooting seasons and come to Lakers. Unless you're Taurean Prince, you end up forgetting how to shoot. And he's a career 34% three-point shooter. So to me, I look at it as what's more likely, that he's going to continue shooting 38% or he's going to, at some point, even if it's not this year, at some point resort back to the 34% because that's the sample size that we have over the last, you're comparing 30 games to 400-500 games, right? And I would rather the 500 game sample size. So I just lean towards more likely than not. I just have concerns with Murray's fit, right? Murray has not been good off the ball. Right. And guess what? We have LeBron James. LeBron James is going that's the one thing I haven't heard anybody talk about. I said the same thing earlier, a little while ago. I haven't heard anybody talk about the concerns of off the ball. Again, that's the biggest issue. When Murray gets the ball in his hands and he gets to run the offense, he's one of the best at it. He's ridiculous. He's really good. But he doesn't get that opportunity with Trae Young. He's not going to get that opportunity with LeBron. LeBron's going to get the ball in his hands. That's D'Lo's problem. Again, I said it earlier. D'Lo, look at the game where LeBron sat out and D'Lo got to run point guard. He put on a clinic, an absolute clinic. He has some of the best, like when he's just running the point guard, he has some of the best metrics for point guards in the league. One of the best plays in the league is the pick and roll with Anthony Davis. He's also the one guy that actively tries to get Anthony Davis to basketball. I look at it as like fit, like how does that work? How does that fit? He can't shoot. He can't finish at the rim, right? And I mean, it just, and his defense has been, I expect his defense to get better. I agree with that. But you can't deny that he's been terrible. I mean, terrible defensively. So we only have the information that we have to go off of. Do we believe that he'll get better? Sure, I do. But there's no guarantee. Like, so you're talking about fit, you're talking about not being able to shoot, not being able to finish, right? Defensive struggles, worse. People are already with their pitchforks and torches to just go after D'Angelo Russell for his defense. And he's been 6 points better defensively. 6 points better defensively. Even his net rating, defensive net rating, is like 10 points better, right? So, like, no matter how you look at it, whether it's individual defense, like just the one-on-one matchups, D'Lo's been better. And the team defense, D'Lo's been better. So, again, I'm not saying that Dejounte Murray won't be better with this Lakers team, but it's something that you have to factor in. You have to look at you can't just look at like all the rainbows and sunshines, right? Again, look at Russell Westbrook. If you just looked at the pros, it's like, man, athletic guard, get to the basket, increase pace, right? He could go give you a 25 to 30 on any given night, Mr. Triple-Double, right? So guys are going to get involved. Our big men are going to be eating and feasting, right? Like if you just look at the pros for every player, then yeah, you can make an argument for every player in the league. But then when you start looking at the cons, it's like, well, he can't shoot, he can't finish at the rim, not good defensively, right? But he did pick it up defensively and played great defensively for us, so he's been better, right? Okay, it's like he doesn't fit next to LeBron James. He can't play off the ball. Like out of 5 of those things that I mentioned, 4 of those fit Dejounte Murray. So again, I'm not saying that it won't work. It's just you got to keep that in your mind, right? My biggest concern is the off-ball fit. His biggest issue is he hasn't been good off the ball with Trae Young. How is he going to be good off the ball with LeBron James, right? I mean, I don't know. It's something that's, again, at least worth keeping in mind. I want Murray, hey Tyler, and Murray don't have a bad attitude. Murray definitely doesn't have a bad attitude. And I do have concerns about Lavine, but also how much of that is just like environment. We've seen a lot of guys that have been problematic at some places and then go elsewhere, and they're not. Like, they're fine. You know, he doesn't get along with the coach. Him and DeMar DeRozan are redundant. They're losing, right? When you're losing games, things kind of change. But when you start winning games, like Zach Lavine comes, he's going to have a fresh attitude. He's going to be excited. He's going to be a Laker. He's going to get to play with LeBron James, Anthony Davis. And Zach Lavine in like, what was it, like 2018 or something like that? Or like, I think it was after that. It might have been like 2020 or something. But I don't know. It was one of the All-Star games, right? Where he was with Chicago. And he said something along the lines of like, they asked him like, where would you like to play? And he was like, I would love to play with a guy with a playmaker like LeBron and a defensive anchor like Anthony Davis. I'm paraphrasing. It was something like that. But, you know, so, I mean, he's even talked about it. You don't think Zach Lavine, if he goes to the Lakers, knows he's going to be the third guy? Like, there's no way he's going to look at it and go like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to Lakers and I'm going to be the man. No, he knows LeBron James on that team. He knows Anthony Davis on that team. But he's probably looking at it as like, imagine how easy it would be for me, right? I can play off the ball. LeBron James is going to get me in my shooting pocket every time. I'm going to be able to dominate. They need me to score. It's what I do best, right? So I think the balance for him would be good. I wouldn't be mad if they traded for Murray, but again, like I don't think it's possible because I just think Atlanta's going to want too much. And 2, I just don't think he's our only first-round pick upgrade over D'Lo, right? He's better than D'Lo, absolutely. But is he like, he fixes all of our problems, so let's make that happen? Like, I just don't think that that's the best possibility. Zach Lavine is costly, without a doubt. But like I said, I mean, the Lakers are locked in salary cap-wise regardless, right? The only thing that it really affects is the tax and like where you are in the brackets. But if you're winning, it doesn't matter, right? As long as it works, it's good. But you'd be in the same position with Murray because Murray is going to start a new extension next season. So, and that increases every year. I mean, it's not like Like Lavine's is like $50 million towards the end, but also LeBron wouldn't be on the team by that point. Like, well, maybe, right? I mean, the way LeBron's played, he might play for another 10 years, but we will see. Lakers have to sell the farm to get anyone. The rest of the league don't do charity for Lakers. We hear that every year. People said that what was all the talk with Russell Westbrook, right? Oh, you have to give up one first just for a team to be interested, and that's not even counting what it's going to take to trade. Every year we hear the Lakers have to sell everybody. No one's going to help the Lakers. Lakers never going to get this guy. Lakers are never going to get that. And every year we seem to figure it out, right? Now, I do think that there are realistic options. I think that there are unrealistic options, right? Like, again, got the nickname Lakerdamus. How did I get the nickname Lakerdamus? Because I predicted so many of the guys being correct. And it wasn't because I'm a fortune teller or I have inside information or anything. It was just who are the most realistic options that make sense and that potentially could be available. These are the guys. So I said Rui. 2 hours later, Rui's a Laker. I say D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, and I talked about Malik Beasley, right? Boom, those guys become Lakers like weeks later, right? Like it's just it's just what is realistic. Every year we hear the Lakers aren't going to get this, or the Lakers aren't going to get that. No one's going to help the Lakers. Teams want to help themselves too. Again, Chicago is desperate. They have to get Zach Lavine off their roster. And if the reports are true that nobody wants Zach Lavine but the Lakers, then guess who has the power? Because the Lakers don't have to make a deal. Like they could just say, hey, we'll take our chances in the playoffs. We got LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But, let's try to at least get top 6, right? Figure it out, get into the playoffs, and we'll take our chances. And then this offseason, we'd have 3 firsts, technically, at the draft day. You'd have 3 firsts that we could use to go package to go get another star, right? So, again, the Lakers aren't – like last year, the Lakers were in a point of desperation and still were able to get a very good trade for them, right? And then you look at this year, and it's like the Lakers really aren't in a point of desperation. The West is so tight. The Lakers go on a 3-game win streak, and all of a sudden they're the 4 seed again, right? It's like it's not like it's that far out. And it's probably going to be like that all season. And January is going to be an excellent stretch for them, right? I mean, we'll see if they can put together some wins here, but the Lakers should be able to catch some ground in January, right? So especially if we get through January and the Lakers are like 5 or 6 games over 500, like you're definitely not at a point of desperation. Now, if the Lakers are like 5 games under 500, well, then yeah, maybe things change. Maybe the conversation changes. And maybe at that point, Chicago's like, hey, you guys want to miss the playoffs, right? But right now, the Lakers are in shape and should be in shape to where it's like, hey, look, we don't have to do anything, right? You need to get – what are you going to – you going to play Zach Lavine this year, right? You might as well kiss the season goodbye if you're playing Zach Lavine because your team has been really good. Like, I just don't see that being a problem. Can we trade Gabe Vincent? Technically, yes. Problem is that he's out 6 to 8 weeks. So what team is going to be looking to trade for him with him out for basically 2 months? It's like teams aren't going to be jumping at the chance to sign or to trade for a guy that they can't even play for 2 months. And he's been injured all year. So even if he did come back before the trade deadline, like teams are going to want to watch him play for a couple games or whatever. So Lavine cheaper than Murray in the sense of like draft, or compensation, right? Like Zach Lavine shouldn't cost a first. Murray is very likely going to cost multiple first-round picks, right? Again, San Antonio got, but Atlanta traded 3 firsts and a pick swap for Murray, right? Like I don't see them going, okay, we'll just take 1 first for him, right? Like they're going to want at least 2 firsts, which the Lakers just don't have. And some team might actually try to do that, make that happen. The Knicks are rumored to want Murray and look at Murray as an ideal target next to Brunson, which that could make a little sense, I guess. You got that point of attack defensive guy. But so if that's the case, I mean, they could easily give up 2 or 3 firsts and still have enough to go trade for a Joel Embiid if he becomes available, right? I'm just using him as an example. Let's see. Howdy, everyone. What's going on, XRP? I thought the Bulls were, would we really getting what we want? I mean, they have been, but they also weren't in this position where they needed to trade Zach Lavine. They should have blown it up the last season. They should have blown it up last trade deadline, and they chose not to. And now they dug themselves in a position where they got to unload Zach Lavine. Um, so the recent starting lineup is the worst in the league offensively and defensively. So you said, what about that lineup? Look, again, they got to lock it down defensively. The biggest concern was the offense, right? It puts so much pressure on Taurean Prince to basically shoot the lights out. You got to put on LeBron James and Anthony Davis. What I've talked about also in the past is like you look at like if you were to get a Zach Lavine, you can run that the starting unit that the Lakers are running. You could do that with Zach Lavine. You could go with Cam Reddish and Jerry Vanderbilt, right? Because now you have a guy in Zach Lavine who could shoot, who can score basically at all three levels. You got LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Between those three guys, you got enough offense to go and give you 40 and a quarter by themselves. Not by themselves, I mean like collectively, right? They could go get 40 together and one in the first quarter, right? And so you could go with Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt for the defensive purposes, right? Also, Jared Vanderbilt still isn't there defensively. He's missing assignments. His timing's off. His feet aren't under him. Once he gets back into the swing of that, I do expect that. I do kind of like the idea if the Lakers were to get Zach Lavine, going with like Cam Reddish and Taurean Prince. So you have basically two shooters, Cam Reddish defensively. But again, it's all about balance. You got to have balance. You got to find that proper balance. You know, whether it's moving Reeves in the starting lineup, which, again, I kind of like keeping him on the bench. I mean, if you're going to go with this starting unit, then you probably need Reeves. But, I mean, defensively, they should be better. There's no reason that they're this bad defensively. They should be better defensively because that's the one caveat that you have with that lineup, right? They've been rebounding better. The rebounding's been great. But defensively, they have just not been there. Now, is that because it was the Thunder and the Celtics, the two top 5 offenses in the league? Right? Or 2 of the 5 top offenses in the league. Like, is that part of it? Or like, what does it look like against Charlotte? Right? What does it look like against like a middle of the pack team? Like, let's say, like the Clippers, right? Like, how does it look against the Clippers? Like, but when you're talking about the 2 top 5 teams, like how much of that is just like, they're just that good offensively, right? I mean, the Lakers were number 1 defense in the league last year and ran into Denver. And how did that defense look? Terrible, right? So offense, I mean, you need a balance is the point. You have to have balance. Thoughts on us and being able to acquire Lauri Markkanen? I just don't see it. One, Utah doesn't have to trade him, right? The only way that they trade him is if they get like a too good to be true offer, right? If somebody comes in and is like, we'll give you 5 firsts for Lauri Markkanen, which team like OKC might. But like when you're talking about Utah, they have all the leverage in a Markkanen trade. If they could get Markkanen, I would love that. Right? If there's any possibility to get Lauri Markkanen, I would choose him over Lavine. I would choose him over Murray. I choose him over just about anybody. Talking about a 7-footer that can rebound, one of the best shooters in the league this year, playing alongside LeBron James. You can play him at the 4, you can play him at the 3. Like, it just like he would fit beautifully with this Lakers team. He's one of the guys that have zero questions about fit. And then maybe could you also get like a Kelly Olynyk in that deal or whatever, right? If you could get other pieces, but you're going to have to trade a lot of assets that you just don't have. So I wouldn't hold my breath on Lauri Markkanen. If it happens, it happens. Great. You know, I would love to be wrong. But if I had to bet on, like, I think it would be more likely the Lakers get Donovan Mitchell than they get Lauri Markkanen. Because at least the Cavs are in a position to where it's like, we're going to have to trade him soon. Like, Utah doesn't ever have to trade Lauri Markkanen if they don't want to. They can just keep him, sign him new. He has got on contract, all that stuff. So, does Lavine rebound? Lavine is what, 6'5", and he's like 5 rebounds, 5 assists for shooting guard is good. Lavine, Drummond, and Caruso. I would love that. I just don't see them trading Caruso personally. I don't. I would love it if they do, but especially, again, like their goal is to, like, I could see them getting rid of Drummond just because, again, he's their backup, right? They could probably replace that. So I don't think that would be an issue there. But like Caruso, and competition is a problem, right? If Caruso does become available, pretty much every team in the league is going to go try to trade for Caruso because he fits on basically every team in the league. And he's only making like $10 million. So basically every team in the league could go trade for him. So now you have a bidding war. And you have teams like, like I said, the Knicks or the Sixers or whatever, that they could give 2 firsts for Caruso if they wanted to. I'm not saying that they would, but they could just to make sure that they got him and no one else did. Right? Like, and he would still impact and help, right? So Lavine is a bucket, but what would we be giving up. Most likely it'd be a package around like D'Lo, Rui, and like Jalen Hood-Schifino for salary wise. Which again, like D'Lo is now been relegated to 17 minutes a game. Rui is hot and cold and plays here and there. And I don't think it's anything to do with Rui. I just think it's the way that the Lakers utilize Darvin Ham. The way Darvin Ham utilizes Rui drives me insane. But I mean, Zach LaVine's going to give you more offensive production than both those guys combined, and he's just a better natural fit than Rui and D'Lo. Because Rui, as long as LeBron's on this team, Rui's never going to get the opportunity because he can't play the three. You know, even when he is out there playing the three, like he's getting burned all the time and stuff. You just have, luckily you have Anthony Davis, just makes up so much ground. But like LaVine plugs in beautifully. When LeBron goes to the bench, you have LaVine who can kind of just take over. Gives you flexibility. What would we give up for Murray? See, that's the problem. We only have a first and maybe a pick swap. So, I mean, technically, you could just do D'Lo a first and a pick swap, but I don't think that they would want D'Lo. So, you're probably looking at like Rui and like Schifino or maybe Christie, right? Maybe go like Rui and Christie and go get Murray and throw in a first and a pick swap. But are you really trading essentially 2 firsts for Murray just to slightly upgrade D'Lo? I don't, especially when LeBron, especially come playoff time, LeBron is going to have the ball in his hands 90% of the time, especially if he's healthy. I just don't think that that's the right move. Can we do a DeMar, Vu, and Caruso trade? Can we? Yes. Will we? Most likely not. Can we? Like, do we have a way to get there? Yes, of course. Because DeMar is making like $28 million. You got Vu making what, $18 million. Let's call it $20 million. Talking like $48 million between the two of them, and then Caruso 10. So you're talking like $52 million around that ballpark. You could do like D'Lo, Rui, Gabe Vincent, and then like you got to like do like Jalen Hood-Schifino or whatever, because like that gets you like 48. So yeah, I mean technically we could get there, but will we? Probably not. Just because again, like Chicago's entire plan is to trade Zach LaVine and then see what this team looks like. So let's say they trade him to Miami and they get, I'm just using guys as an example, right? So let's say Tyler Hero and Jovic or whatever, and then whatever other piece like Kyle Lowry or Duncan Robinson to match salary and stuff, right? So let's call it Duncan Robinson, right? So then they would look at it, okay, well, how does this team's been better without LaVine. Now let's see what it looks like, and let's see what it looks like with Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, right? Okay, does that make us better? Do we look to move Tyler Hero? Do we look to move Duncan Robinson? Do we look to move anybody else, right? So the first step is to trade LaVine and then figure it out from there. So you're probably not going to be able to get anybody else other than like I said, like a Torrey Craig, Andre Drummond, somebody like that in a deal. Somebody that's like sort of an afterthought for them. Put Gabe on the list. I don't think getting LaVine shoots 45%. I don't think people get LaVine. Thank you. That's what I said. Right? I was talking about it. Literally, he shoots 45. I think it's like 44.7 or whatever. But yeah, basically 45% on catch and shoot threes. Which, again, he's going to be playing alongside LeBron James, which means he's going to get a lot of wide open catch and shoot looks. And if he's knocking them down at a 45% clip, that's ridiculous. LaVine, Drummond, Caruso for D'Lo, Reeves, and salary filler. Can't get anything without coming off Reeves. For GM would go for that. And also GM would have a hard time in LA, a fair trade, to be honest. I mean, if you can get Caruso, I think now you can make the argument of trading Reeves, because I think Caruso would give you more of what you need if you get LaVine in the deal. I wouldn't hate it. I just don't think the Lakers are going to trade. I don't think they're going to trade Reeves. Dejounte has had better off-ball numbers this year. Yes, yeah, which he has. He's shooting better and attacking closeouts. And the only hesitation is he can stay in the shooting. He has been, yes, but he hasn't been great off the ball. He's been better. Last year, he was like god awful off the ball. This year he's been better, but he hasn't been great off the ball. And again, like his shooting, that's the biggest concern. If his shooting drops even slightly, now we could be in big trouble. And the problem is you traded everything to go get him. And so now if you got to trade him, like what are you gonna get in return? Right? Gabe being injured hurts us on the court and off the court for trade value. Yep. Then again, maybe Lavine had a bad attitude because he thought he was a star coming to us. He got to know he's not a star. He's going to be playing his role. Him seeing it. Yeah, I mean, who knows what the issue, like the bad attitude things didn't really arise till, we got to Chicago, right? And then once he got to Chicago, it was like, I know there was like some stuff with the Timberwolves, but like look at Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was like, that team was trash, and he had a bad attitude with the Timberwolves, right? But it really came with Chicago, and it didn't start till like the last year, right? And that was when like the reports that him and DeMar aren't looking eye to eye, him and the front office aren't seeing eye to eye. So like, how much of it is just like you're losing, you're in a bad organization, whatever. Any scenario where Rui remains a Laker? Likely not. Like I wouldn't count on it. Just because, again, you got to give something to get something, right? And, like, what team is going to be like, yeah, give us Gabe Vincent and D'Angelo Russell for Zach Lavine, or give us, right? Like, teams aren't just going to purposely fleece themselves to just help the Lakers, right? We're not going to get, like, a Pau Gasol trade, right? As much as I would love it, and you never know. I mean, strange things happen, but if we're being realistic, chances are you're going to have to give something to get something. Right? Like, how many teams actually want D'Lo? Right? The way that they're looking at it is like D'Lo is the salary filler. We want a Reeves, or we want a Rui, or we want whatever. Right? I do think some teams would like D'Lo, but the teams that we want to make, like Chicago doesn't have a need for D'Lo because now you have White who came through. Like if White was continuing to struggle, well, then it's like, okay, well, maybe D'Lo does make sense for us. Now he doesn't really make a lot of sense for them. Right? So where does that go, right? I think it just depends on the team. Let's see. Oh, I didn't know Murray was a point guard. LeBron doesn't want to play point guard, so I feel like we need a point guard. The problem is that LeBron says he doesn't want to play point guard. That's why we trade. That's why we went and signed Dennis Schroeder. That's why we ended up trading for Russell Westbrook to begin with. Problem is LeBron is still extremely ball dominant and wants the ball in his hands, and our team is best when he plays point guard. That's we keep experimenting trying to get these point guards, and it just isn't working, right? At what point does LeBron just say, okay, like just make me the point? I mean, he said it earlier, like, I can play point guard, right? So I just think you have to let him play point guard at this point. So I think you have him as your main playmaker in the starting unit, and then you go get another just decent playmaker, right? That's why I said ideally, like I hope, which it's looking less likely because Golden State has been terrible. My hope is that they trade Chris Paul and get something, and that team buys out Chris Paul. I know people aren't super high on Chris Paul, but what better playmaker could you get in a bench role for a vet minimum deal? And you don't need him to play 30 minutes like he does everywhere else. You only need him to play 15. So I think he would be perfect. So that's my hope, is that they trade him. Can we trade Gabe, Rui, and a first-round pick and D'Lo for DeMar Caruso and Vu? Yes, technically we can. I think I already answered a similar question to that. But yeah, what in tarnation is this? Just chatting. Just goofing. New boot goofing. Let's see. Let's see. By the way, team's not overhyped. They are playing at a solid plus 500 level. Tough Western Conference. They just number in the league right now. Yep. The Lakers, look, you take into all the consideration everything that's happened with the Lakers this year. Lakers are in a pretty good spot. Andrew, coming out $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Didn't see you were live. Lavine is the one. Andrew, no worries. No problem at all. I was going to post another video, but then I was like, you know what? Let's have a little fun debate and discussion, and let people come on and answer questions stuff. I have an hour or so. of time, like an hour and a half of time. So I figured, like, why not do a live stream? And then, like, the first, like, 10 minutes of this, I kind of made a video. So I'm probably just going to, like, cut that and post it because not everyone watches live stream. So I'll probably just cut that as, like, a 10-minute clip and then post it. So kind of a 2-for-1. We kind of double dip in here a little bit. But I also thought it'd be fun rather than, like, plus it's easier to hit all my points in a live stream than it is, like, when I'm trying to cram everything to a 10-minute video. Sometimes, like, I forget points and I'm like, oh, damn, I wanted to talk about this, right? Like, or I wanted to mention this. So it's, yeah, it's just live stream. I can go as long as I want so I can kind of hit points. And usually people will ask questions that spark, like, oh, yeah, I wanted to mention this, right? So, but anyway, I appreciate you, Andrew. And I agree. I think Lavine's the one. Go. You can go listen to my rant earlier. I hate that I'm still sick. All right, where were we as far as the here we go. I think it comes down to what the other pieces could we get for these guys if Reeves is involved. What else would be interesting? Yeah, to me it just depends on what is the overall trade, right? Like can you get 3, 4, 5 guys in a deal, right? Can you get like depth in a deal, like our upgrade in positions of need? Like I wouldn't hate that, right? I think it just depends on what it is. Murray is a bucket, though. He is, but most of his offense comes from the pull-up game, right? He's in like the 90th percentile or 89th percentile as far as like pull-up game. So he's a guy that ball in his hands, comes around a screen or cross a dude up, pull up, jump shot, right? So that's the problem. Like he's not a great three-point shooter. He's not great at finishing around the rim. Reeves is only his third year. In the next couple of years, he will be worth way more. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, Murray is a very good point guard. He could easily be 10 plus. I absolutely think he can too. But the question is he going to get the opportunity to play point guard? I would go for Murray because better health, and I think he can make more plays. But again, is he going to get the opportunity to make plays with LeBron? Right? D'Lo can make plays. D'Lo is excellent. He's up there with, like, when you look at his numbers where he just gets to play the point guard, they're ridiculous. The problem is he plays next to LeBron James, so he doesn't get the opportunity to actually play point guard, right? You see the games. It's like, okay, he gets to make a play here and there. He'll have like 3 or 4 straight good passes. And don't get me wrong, D'Lo at times can be a little lazy with the pass or try to be a little too flashy, right, rather than just making the easy pass. I do get that. I'm not saying that D'Lo is the greatest point guard ever. I'm not saying he's magic or anything, but he isn't bad. And he's a guy that is capable of going to get 8 to 10 assists a game, just like Murray can. But is Murray going to get the opportunity to do so? I don't see him doing that as long as LeBron's on the team. Now, post LeBron, I think he'd have a real opportunity, but I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see. Andrew, coming out with $10 super chat. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. People are salivating over Murray. He's a nice addition, but he is not realistic target at $18 million salary. Every team can outbid us. Lavine is what we need to complete versus Boston and Denver. Yeah. So like I don't want to go too much into it just because I spent 10 minutes ranting about it. But I will say though that yes, I agree. I lean towards Lavine heavily just because he's realistic. We're not going to have many bidding wars. What I've talked about heavily in all my videos and the live streams and everything is that when you look at guys, what is the competition like? Because the Lakers are extremely limited. The Lakers don't have 3 or 4 firsts to go and trade to go get this guy or that guy or whatever, right? Is Lavine the best option ever? No. But he's the most realistic. He makes the most sense. Fit-wise, I don't see him being a problem. I've talked and gone over the fits with Murray. Again, can't finish very great around the rim. He's been worse this season defensively than D'Lo in individual defense and team defense. So both metrics, he's been worse than D'Lo. Now, will that get better with the Lakers? Most likely. But it's definitely something worth, at least being conscious of, right? Again, guys can improve, guys can get better. I mean, he's a guy that was an all-defensive guy, right? I understand that. But we only have the information that we have to go off of. Right? We've also seen guys have excellent seasons, make all NBA teams, all that stuff, and then just never able to replicate that. So, again, not saying that he won't, but he will. Not a good three-point shooter. I know he's shooting 38% from 3, but he has a career 34%, right? And based on the way that guys come to the Lakers and play and shoot the basketball, usually they have that massive drop. So he's not good off the ball. He's been better this year. Again, he's been better this year off the ball, but D'Lo's been much better off the ball. D'Lo's actually been very good off the ball last season and this season, right? His shot isn't falling, right? Not the way that, or not consistently enough, but right. Like, so you're going to have a lot of the same issues that D'Lo has on this team. Murray's going to have a lot of the same. And I just don't think I don't think he's that far of an upgrade to where it's like, oh, let's give up a first and a pick swap to go get him, right? When you could probably get Zach Lavine without giving up any first. So you could go get a trade for Zach Lavine on, let's say, the 17th, right, of January. And then maybe still, if you have a first, maybe go do a minor trade to go get a Dorian Finney-Smith or a Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal's only making like $8 or $10 million or something like that, right? Maybe you could do like a Gabe Vincent for Royce O'Neal and give up like a pick swap or something, right? And I don't think that would be work. But if that's like the piece you need to now make you a bona fide contender, right? Like, then maybe you're I don't know. My point is that, like, I just think you look at Zach Lavine, again, he's the most realistic. He's the cheapest asset giving up wise. And fit-wise, I don't question Zach Lavine's fit, right? There's going to be a filling out period. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Zach Lavine's going to come in and be just game busters. He may, right? But more likely than not. But he's a guy that shoots 45% from three on catch and shoots. That's every time. That's about as good off the ball as it gets, right? Imagine him and the looks he's going to get playing alongside LeBron James, shooting 45% from three. All right, what do we need? We need a three-point shooter. We need offense. Right? We need another big man. You could solve, again, 70% of the Lakers' issues with a Chicago trade for Lavine and DeMar DeRozan. Maybe you could even convince them to throw in a Torrey Craig, right, as another 3-and-D guy. He's not great at threes, but he's serviceable. And at that point, he'd be like our 10th guy. So, he's just another defensive guy that you could put at the 2 or the 3, right? I just lean towards that personally. Coming in hot, the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. If you can be an animal, what animal would it be? I would be an aquatic murderer, or also known as an orca. Sorry, that threw me off for a second. That's a good question. What would I be if I could be an animal? I want to be something like there's all like I would love to be like like a lion or something like that. Like, that's like kind of the generic answer. Like, I want to be something cool. Like, I would be like an eagle. Like, I think it'd be cool to be an eagle, just be able to fly, like just have like X-ray vision essentially. Like, they can like pinpoint things from like miles in the sky. Like, you're just kind of flying over the world like a boss, right? Like, yeah, like, I mean, an orca would be cool. A shark. Right, come back as like a megalodon, right, and just be like in the movies. That'd be pretty cool. Trying to think of like what else. I think it'd be cool to be like a fox or something like that, right? Just like see what they look like. It would be cool. Like, do you guys remember that show? What was it? Animorphs, right? They had like the books, and then like, maybe I'm dating myself here a little bit, but like Animorphs, they even had like a TV show, like Animorphs. Like, if I could do something like that where I could like transform into an animal and then transform back, like that'd be super cool, right? Like, to do something like they did in the Animorphs thing without all the chaos. Like, if I could just turn into like an eagle and then like next day turn into a lion, just try different things. But I don't know, like I want to be something like I'd probably say like an eagle, just because like you could fly, you could like mess things up. I was gonna say a different word. I'm sure you guys picking up what I'm putting down, but try to keep this PC for YouTube. Yeah, something like that. But Kazu, thank you so much for $5 super chat. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Where were we? We were Andrew coming in hot for $5 super chat. Thank you so much. People need to understand that the only reason we can get a player of Lavine's capability is due to his contract. It's perfect for us. We have to go all in. Exactly. Right? Like, his contract is very limiting for most teams. Right? Also, the type of player he is, very few teams need. Most of the, like, you look at the top teams, they all have a guy like Zach Lavine, right? Not saying that they're all necessarily comparable to Zach Lavine, but like Boston doesn't need Zach Lavine. They have a Jason Tatum and a Jaylen Brown, two guys that can isolate and just go get buckets, right? Look at a team like OKC. They got SGA, right? Look at a team like Denver, right? They got Jamal Murray, right? Look at a team like the Bucks, right? They got Giannis and Dame, right? Look at a team like even like Denver Wolves. They got Anthony Edwards, right? They already have the guards or the forwards that can just go get a bucket, that can just isolate and go get what they need, right? So you look at it, it's like very, very few teams have the ability to trade for Zach Lavine to begin with. Two, right? Like, how many teams need another guy like him, right? When they already have it. Like, even in Sacramento, like there's talks about Sacramento maybe wanting Zach Lavine. I just don't see that. They're better off going and getting like a Pascal Siakam than a Zach Lavine because you already have De'Aaron Fox, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, the Lakers don't have a guy that can just be that athletic guard that can just go score buckets, right? Look at all the top teams. They all have that. They all have a forward or a guard that can just go get a bucket, right? And generate offense by themselves without having to be set up. Everyone else either has to overwork for their offense or they have to be set up, right? So it's like, to get a guy like a Zach Lavine that can do that, it's just very beneficial, right? Like, even the Grizzlies, who are, they're on like a 4-game win streak. They were one of the worst teams in the league. Ja Morant came back, and all of a sudden they're on a win streak. Some of that is momentum and hype. Some of that is because they didn't have anybody that could just go get a bucket, right? Like, Baines has to work hard, right? Like, Marcus Smart is inefficient at times, right? Like, but you add a guy like a Ja Morant who can just basically score at will, right? And again, I'm not saying that Ja Morant is, or that Zach Lavine is on par with Ja Morant or anything like that, but you see the impact of what a guy that can just get to the rim, apply rim pressure, knock down the outside shot, knock down a mid-range can do for a team. Lakers don't have anybody like that. Bradley, coming in hot, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Can believe Kareem, the YouTuber, said that LeBron no longer impacts the game in a meaningful way. The shame. Can you give the most realistic outcome for a trade deadline? Ham is sandbagging too. What drive? Yeah, as far as like LeBron's impact on the game, like the only thing that like I don't know what exactly was said. Like, I don't know the context. So I don't know, because like I've even said that like he can't impact the game like he used to. He still absolutely impacts the game. Like, the dude is ridiculous. But like, look, 27 to 30-year-old LeBron literally could single-handedly win you 90% of your games. Just because he could control the pace, he could control basically everything, right? He was just so impactful, right? Especially when he was clicking on all cylinders. He could lock down the best player on the other team, right? If need be. Like, he could keep it going, right? He can't really, at his age, the mileage he has, he can't really do that anymore. So he doesn't impact the game like he did young LeBron. Like, young LeBron, I mean, carried a bunch of nobodies to the NBA Finals, right? I mean, yeah, he got swept by the Spurs, but still, I mean, that dude, like, this second leading scorer was like, what, Eric Snow? Right? Like, come on. Like, the dude did wonders. Young LeBron was just a different beast. The way he could control and dictate games. He doesn't have that anymore. He can't just like completely lock down for 48 minutes and basically control all elements and all aspects of the game. So in that regard, I can understand that. But if the context was just like he completely doesn't impact game, like he's basically just a role player at this point, then no, that's definitely not the case. But as far as like realistic outcome at the trade deadline, I think it goes one of two ways. Either A, I think it's either like a Zach Lavine trade and you get like an Andre Drummond, right? Maybe you work out a 3-team deal, maybe whatever. But I think ultimately they're going to end up getting a scorer and like a backup center. Or the other option that I think is they get multiple pieces. Like I mentioned earlier, you get something like maybe you get like a Royce O'Neal and a Dorian Finney-Smith for like a Rui Hachimura in a couple seconds, right? And your argument to the Nets is, hey, you don't have a real power forward. You have a bunch of threes that are playing the four. Rui is a four, right? So now you can run a lineup out there of like Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Rui Hachimura, and Nick Claxton. Now you're great offensively. You got switch ability, you got size, you got everything, right? We need legit 3 and D guys, and you need a legit power forward. So do something like that. I can see them maybe doing something like that and then going and trading for like a Valanciunas, or like, maybe it is just an Andre Drummond or something. I think that those are probably the two likely scenarios. Either A, they go and they go get that star, go get that big impact guy like a Zach Lavine, or B, Chicago is bullheaded and they just like, no pun intended. Chicago is kind of bullheaded and is like, we have to get a first and we have to get Reeves, and then they just go, okay, fine, and they go the other route, which is like the upgrading role guys in the position of need, right? Go get a starting 2, a starting 3, right? So now you have a lineup. You could go a lineup of like, if you want to keep LeBron at the point to start games, you could go with like Prince, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Now you have basically 3 guys that can shoot 38 to 40% from three-point range. All 3 of them can lock down, defend, 3 and D, legit 3 and D guys. You got LeBron James when his shot has fallen, you have that, and then Anthony Davis. You're much better on both sides of the basketball at that point. So those are my 2 very realistic things. But then outside of that, like I mentioned, LeBron impact. He doesn't. If it's in a meaningful way, he absolutely impacts the game in a meaningful way. Just he can't control games like he used to. He used to be able to control games. He can't necessarily control games to the level that he could, right? I mean, we've seen him take over in like the 4th or whatever and win a game, but I'm talking about like the entirety of the game, right? Like you saw games, like especially like Miami LeBron, right? I mean, he was just basically playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Like it wasn't even fair. LeBron to that extent wasn't. But yeah, shout out to Kareem. I went on their channel a long time ago. Like when I was first starting out. They're awesome. I pop in every once in a while and say hello to them. So shout out to Kareem and Elder. Salute, gentlemen, if you're watching this live stream. Salute, gentlemen. But Andrew, coming out with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Lakers have to go all in. They have to burn the boots. LeBron and AD need to go all in for Lavine, Caruso, Drummond, Dorian Finney-Smith if possible. Burn the boots. I mean, we've talked about this before. I like the idea of like, I really like Dorian Finney-Smith as like a target. Like if the Lakers can find a way to get Dorian Finney-Smith regardless, like no matter what they do, I think that they should. If they can get Dorian Finney-Smith, that would be beautiful. I really would try to get Royce O'Neal also in that deal because like he's only making like $10 million, right? So like I said, can you do like the Lakers have like 3 tradable seconds? I think it's 3 or 4, but let's just say 3 because I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. Like if you could, like I said, if you could do something like Rui and like Maxwell Lewis, right? So you're giving him a young development wing, you're giving him a real starting level 4, and you give him like 2 or 3 seconds. I think that that's a very favorable deal both ways. And now the Lakers got a Dorian Finney-Smith who you could start at the 3, who's an upgrade over. He's not elite defensively like Vanderbilt is when Vando's healthy, but he is good enough. He's basically a better Prince, right? And Prince has been excellent for us. So imagine imagine if Prince was lockdown defense and shooting the way he's shooting. That's Dorian Finney-Smith. Go get me Dorian Finney-Smith. Go get me Royce O'Neal, right? If you could do something like that, I would love that. I think that would solve a lot of our issues too. But I still think we need a scorer, right? Like if there was a way that we could get DeMar DeRozan, I would love, like if you could get dream scenario, right? Let's put on our not gonna happen, but I would love for this to happen. Get me DeMar DeRozan, Andre Drummond. Go get me Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal, right? Obviously, if you can get Caruso, then take Caruso, but let's say that they're adamant about not trading Caruso plus competition, right? If we could get DeMar DeRozan, Andre Drummond, so that solves your scoring, that solves your backup center, and then go get Royce O'Neal, who basically gives you a 3-and-D shooting guard, small forward, basically another Taurean Prince, right? And then Dorian Finney-Smith, who gives you 2 or 3 guy again. I mean, now good luck. Good luck. Because now you could go DeMar, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. And then you'd still have Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince, and Jared Vanderbilt. And then give me Chris Paul off of a buyout to put it all together with the bench. And whoo, good luck. Good luck. Now, at that point, you're the best team in the league. Because now you have depth, you have defense, you have shooting, you have everything. Now, that's not really that unrealistic either. Will it happen, though? Probably not. Because it's a lot of, like, moving pieces, a lot of things that need to happen. But, hey, the Lakers traded for, like, 5 guys or 6 guys this past offseason, so you never know. Or not offseason, past trade deadline. Andrew, coming out, $10 super chat. 3-team trade, Chicago, LA, and Brooklyn. Rui, AR, Vincent, JHS, Christie, 2029 first, top 3 protected to Chicago. D'Lo, Seawood, 3 seconds, and a Chicago top 14 protected pick to Brooklyn. Lakers, Zach Caruso, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Andre Drummond. If that is something that they could pull off, that to me would be an absolute home run. I would love that. But basically what I was just saying outside of instead of Caruso, get me Royce O'Neal, because I just don't like. Will Chicago trade why am I blanking on his name? Alex Caruso. It's literally right in front of me too. Yeah, if you could do something like that, like Zach Lavine, I wouldn't mind Zach Lavine either. Zach Lavine would be great over tomorrow. But like I said, if you could give me Zach Lavine and Andre Drummond, and then go get me Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal, and the Lakers would be the best team in the league. Because now you have your elite scorer in Zach Lavine, you'd have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, then you'd have Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith, 3 legit 3-and-D guys. So now you have your like bigger versions of Drew Holiday and Derek White, right? Who, in the sense of like they can both defend, they can both shoot the ball, both do multiple things on the court. Dorian Finney-Smith is a better version, but you give me that. Now you got defense out on the perimeter, got shooting out on the perimeter, you got scoring in Zach Lavine, you got LeBron James and Anthony Davis doing LeBron James and Anthony Davis things. You have basically everything you need. Like if you can't win a championship with a roster like that, I don't know what to tell you. That would be an absolute home run, personally. But anyway, thank you, Andrew. I really do appreciate it. I'm right there with you, man. What is Lavine is bad when we get him with all that money on our head. I just don't want a Russ situation. Yeah, but you could say that about Murray. You could say that about pretty much anybody. Zach Lavine at least gives you what, like, the reason Russ didn't work is because he couldn't shoot, right? And he wasn't great at finishing at the rim, and he needed the ball in his hands. Zach Lavine can play off the ball. Again, 45% and catch and shoot threes. So you have his ability to shoot the 3 ball and his ability to shoot and play on the ball, his ability to play make a little bit. It's just you're in a much better situation. Like I just don't see that. I think Murray is more likely to be a Russ situation than Zach Lavine is, just because Murray, and again, you're locked into $30 million a year, right? So, which again isn't 40 to 50 million, but I just think the likelihood of Zach Lavine not working is far less than Murray, because Murray, again, he hasn't been able to play off the ball, can't really shoot the ball well. He doesn't finish around the rim well. He needs the ball in his hands, which is why, like, if we didn't have LeBron, I would say go get Murray, right? Like if we didn't have LeBron James and say, I don't know, we had a scorer, right? Instead, I don't know, let's say, instead of LeBron, we had, I don't know, let's say we got Brandon Ingram still, right? Like then I'd be like, yeah, go get Murray, right? Because then he can kind of play the point guard. He can make plays. He can do things. A lot of the issues that D'Lo has on this team, Murray's going to have the same. Okay, so you should give us 2 first-round games just out of the kindness of the heart. What's good, bro? I have a feeling we are going to get Zach Lavine. I am pretty confident we get Zach Lavine too. Nothing's ever 100%. You never know. But we will see. Time will tell. I like this video. Well, thank you, Pale. And if you're watching this video, hit that like button as well. Take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I am closing in on 18. I am 10 subscribers away from 18K. So if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Help me out. I am 10 subs away from 18K. That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But thank you, Pale. I appreciate you. Andrew, coming out the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. People are afraid of what if it doesn't work. Then we lose. That's how it goes. That doesn't stop you from going all in when you have a real chance. That's my point too. I mean, you could have said the same thing. I said this earlier. I don't know if you were in the live stream, Andrew, when that happened, but I even said if your concerns are like injury history and stuff like that, because again, Zach Lavine, you look at the last 2 years, he played 77 games last year and 69 or 70 the previous year. You can't make decisions based on will this work or will it won't. I mean, obviously you have some stuff that is just blatantly obvious. Like I said, Russell Westbrook was blatantly obvious, but I understood the idea, the logic. If LeBron is really willing to play off the ball, Russell Westbrook, his impact, if you get shooters around him, which they never did, they had small lineup and all that. It was more, to me, it was more the team around Russ than Russ. I think you could have made Russ fit if you had the proper team, especially with him being willing to come off the bench, but his $40 million really hurt, right? Circumstantial things. But in most cases, right, if you're just solely looking at will this work or will it won't, right? Then you're running with issues, just like with injuries, right? Why would you trade for Anthony Davis, right? We traded for Anthony Davis. It's well, he has injury history, right? He's injury prone, right? Why would you trade for Joel Embiid if he became available? Joel Embiid's injured all the time, right? You have to look at the pros and the cons. It's why, I talked about Murray's terrible defense this year, right? And people, he's not going to be that bad. I don't believe he will either. But it's at least something we need to keep in mind, because all the people that are go get Dejounte Murray, that's the guy, that's the answer. If the Lakers trade for him and he doesn't work because he can't shoot, he's not good defensively anymore, and he can't finish around the rim, what are people going to do? Oh, the Lakers are idiots. They never should have traded for Murray. What are the Lakers thinking? I said that they never should have traded for Murray, when it's no, you were the one screaming to go get Murray, right? So it's again, you gotta look at all aspects. I understand from a fan perspective, we only want to look at the positive, but that's why guys are not GMs, right? When you look at Rob Pelinka, he has to look at all aspects. He has to look at what are the pros, what are the cons, what are the goods, what are the bads. Do the pros outweigh the cons, right? Is his injury history? Yes, it's a concern. But what has he done lately? What is the information we have currently, right? Those type of things. So I don't know. We will see. Time will tell. But Andrew, again, thank you. I really do appreciate that. Oh shoot, I lost my. Here we go. We are not getting Lavine. Plus, I don't think he can play with LeBron. Why do you think he can't play with LeBron? What gives you that idea? Any of the two are good, if you ask me. Goodbye, D'Lo. Goodbye, Austin Reeves. I don't think that they trade either of those, or I don't think they trade Reeves. But man, when Murray played for the Spurs, he was elite. Yeah, but you got to understand, he was the guy, right? And he got to have the ball in his hands constantly. He got to basically do whatever he wanted, right? And he wasn't putting up SGA numbers or anything like that. He was with the Spurs, he was 24-5-5 or something like that, or 24-5-8, something along that. And defensively, he was great and stuff, right? He won he was part of the all defensive team that year. So I mean, again, him as the guy, like I mentioned, if we didn't have LeBron, I would say go get Murray. But we do have LeBron. And LeBron is going – that's why Murray didn't make any sense for Atlanta. When they made the trade for Atlanta, I was like, why would they do this? But that's my concern. Let's see. Let's check the polling. Yeah, it's a good idea. Let's check the polling. I don't think I did that. What is it at? So 58% want Dejounte Murray. So out of the poll here, 58% want Dejounte Murray. Interesting. Let's see, where were we? So Kyrie just stood in the corner for LeBron. Bron old. He didn't play off the ball now. Anyways, what are you talking about? Kyrie played off the ball heavily. Like, that's what Kyrie did because he was such an excellent shooter. Like, what are you talking about? And you even speak in English? What is this? So Kyrie just stood in the corner for LeBron. Shit up, bro. Didn't Bron old. He played more off ball now anyways. He does not play more off ball now anyway. All right, if you say so. Andrew, coming out with the $5 super chat. Lavine's play style and shot selection is made to play with LeBron. He's an incredible catch and shoot three-point shooter and an incredible transition. He's the one. I agree. Look, 45% catch and shoot threes is massive. Like I said, I think it's like 44.7, but 44, 45%. Talk about a guy that can shoot elite, play off the ball well, can take over down the stretch when LeBron's out of the game. You can give him the basketball and tell him, hey, like LeBron's going to get 5 minutes of rest. Go get me 20 points, whatever. Lavine is the way to go. He really is. It's not going to cost you as much. I like Murray, but again, you're talking about a guy that hasn't been good off the ball. You're talking about a guy that just can't shoot consistently. I understand he's 38% this year. First year he's ever done that, right? Can he maintain that, especially when we have a history of guys coming to the Lakers and no longer being able to shoot? It's definitely of a concern. So, again, not saying it won't happen, but we will see. Time will tell. Maybe Bron can play with traditional point guards. Can't play. I mean, because he is the point. I mean, like, the problem is like, what point guard can you get that's better than LeBron at being a point guard? Right? So that's the problem. Like, if you're LeBron, like, your options are me playing the point guard or me deferring and letting Murray or one of these other guys play point guard. And it's like, I have the higher IQ. I am the better playmaker. You talk about LeBron is arguably the greatest point guard we've ever seen. Right? Like, so you're talking about a guy that's like there's not very many people that are in the conversation with him playmaking wise. So unless it's like a Chris Paul, like, who else is he going to trust to play with the ball more? Right? Like, I don't, that's the problem. LeBron needs the ball. He's the guy that makes the decisions. Even with Russ, fans question the fit. Yeah, I mean, Russ was like obvious. Like, Russ was like, this doesn't make any sense. It's the catch and shoot, yeah. We need Murray to defend. He is an elite defender. He's not this year. He is terrible. People get on D'Angelo Russell for his lack of defense. D'Angelo Russell is better than league average this year, which is good. League average is 115 defense rating. He's a 114.6. And Murray's like 120. Like, he's literally 6 points worse than D'Angelo Russell defensively. Now, look, again, will he be better? Probably. Right? But there's no guarantee. There's no, like, again, some guys have great defensive seasons and then they just hit that wall, right? So we'll see. But Bulls fan here, what's going on? I have scouted Zach since he was at UCLA, and the real deal with the Bulls is the lie. Lavine was told about Billy's secret contract extension, and also Lavine is on film is better than. Yeah, I think Lavine fits seamlessly with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Like, I do. I think he's a guy that will be able to just go get buckets. He gets to play the role that he's best at, right? Because the problem with Chicago is you got Lavine and DeMar who both kind of do the same thing, right? And it's like a lot of like, you go, I go, you go, I go, you go, I go. And it's like they kind of don't know how to play off each other at times. Like, it's just clunky. Where you wouldn't have any question. Like, it's just like, Lavine, what are you best at? Scoring and shooting the basketball. Guess what the Lakers need? Somebody to score and shoot the basketball. Right? He's going to get his 17 attempts per game. Because, I mean, between D'Lo and Rui, there's your average that he's averaging. Right? So, and it'd be a guy that LeBron would trust to go get buckets because he's proven for his career. I just think, you give LeBron. My biggest concern with getting Lavine is Austin Reeves. Like, my biggest concern is that getting Lavine basically neutralizes Austin Reeves, because now we don't need him as a scorer anymore, and he hasn't been great as a playmaker. But if Reeves can still maintain, and I'm not saying he has to score 20 or anything like that, but if he can still find his groove and give you, 15, 12 to 15 a game, then I think that's perfect. That'd be great. Lakers need a catch and shoot player. Zach Lavine. Zach Lavine shoots 45%. Buck up. Don't forget to hit that like button. Show the video some love. Yes. Take a second. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. You guys are beautiful. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see. Murray is horrible attitude, and Lavine always wanted to play with LeBron. He has been in the works for years. Yeah, I mean, he said it. I mentioned it earlier. I don't know if you were in the stream earlier, but he said at an All-Star game when he was on Chicago before he signed that extension, was like, "Oh, I would love to play with a defensive anchor like AD and a playmaker like LeBron." So yeah, this is definitely something that's been in the behind the scenes for a while. I've always criticized Ham. I just hate when people blame Darvin Ham as the sole reason. Like, Darvin Ham isn't the only reason. It's not like I don't criticize. I criticize Darvin Ham a lot. It's just, I just don't like when people say everything's Darvin Ham's fault. Like, if we just got rid of Darvin Ham, all of a sudden we'd be the best team in the league. Would we be better? Probably. But we're not, like, it's not all on Darvin Ham. Like, Darvin Ham isn't the one that's missing shots, failing to rebound, not playing defense, not properly making rotations, not showing up with energy and effort. Like, at some point we got to hold the players accountable is my problem. I mean, I was going to say I criticize Darvin Ham a lot this stream, but yeah, that's why you're leaving that comment. LeBron wanting and needing the ball as much as anybody else and not wanting to play point guard might be our issue, but we need him. Now that I think about it, a lot of players don't fit well with LeBron, and that's the problem. A lot of players don't fit well with LeBron because he needs the ball in his hands. And that's why, like, literally since the bubble, the Lakers have done everything they can to get LeBron James a point guard because LeBron James said he wanted that. LeBron James, after the bubble, said, I don't want to play point guard primarily anymore. I don't mind playing in spots, but I don't want to be the point guard. Go get me a point guard. So we went and got Dennis Schroeder, right? Dennis Schroeder didn't work. Go get me Russell Westbrook. Me, Russ, and AD, we had a conversation. We sat down. We talked. We, made out and paused. And now we want to play together. And so they went and got Russell Westbrook. And LeBron said, I'll do whatever it takes. AD said, I'll do whatever it takes. Russ said, we'll do whatever it takes to make it work. And guess what? It didn't work. Like, everything the Lakers have done has been to get LeBron to play off the ball because LeBron wants to play off the ball. Guess what? LeBron is best on the ball. He is our best playmaker. He is still one of the best, if not the best, just point guards, playmakers in the league. So, yes, let him play point guard. Go get the scorer. You get a guy like Murray, he's still going to have to play off the ball a lot. D'Lo has to play off the ball a lot. But every time D'Lo gets the opportunity to just play point guard, he puts on a clinic every time. So, I don't know. Can Lavine play defense? Not really. He's pretty bad. But also, again, defensive schemes, you can mask them. You need the offense more, right? He has the athleticism and stuff and the foot speed to stay in front of guys. So you just kind of need him. You don't need him to be great defensively. You just need him to kind of funnel the offense or funnel the offensive player. You can mask him. You can hide him, right? If he's like your only bad defensive guy. But, if you got like him and Reeves out there in the starting unit, then yeah, you're probably getting torched. But at least Lavine will make up with the offense. He'll make up for his lack of defense. That's the problem. It's like Reeves and D'Lo and stuff don't make up for the lack of defense. Murray will be on his third team in 3 years or more. Also, Murray can make the right plays when needed. Yeah, I mean, I like Murray. Again, if he was allowed to just play point, like if we didn't have LeBron on this team and we had somebody else, right, like somebody that could play off the ball, right, I wouldn't hate it, right? Like if you had Zach Lavine, right, and you had, like if you already, like instead of, like if you post LeBron, if you had Lavine, AD, and Murray, I'd be like, okay, that probably work. right? Because you can let Murray play the point guard. Lavine, he can have his moments where he gets to be on the ball, but for the most part, you let guys play point guard. Problem is we just don't. We have too many one-way guys. Exactly. Dejounte is a better option because he plays both sides of the ball. Zach plays one and makes no one else better while doing so. Yes, but you have to keep in mind, yes, you are right. We do have way too many one-way guys, but most of them are all one-way defensively. We don't have that one-way guy offensively. I mean, elite level, right? Austin Reeves is basically one-way offensively, but he's not a guy that's going to go give you 50 on any given night. Like Zach Lavine has multiple. He has a 50-point game this season, right? And he's only played like 20 games. So the difference is that what best, like Dejounte Murray, yes, would be a great two-way guy, but you still have nobody else that would be two-way. Right? So you still have all of those liabilities. How do you balance that? Right? You have a bunch of one-way defensive guys and Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt, guys like that. How do you balance that? By going and getting an elite offensive guy. Our issue isn't defense. Again, we're 6th in defense. We're fine defensively. It's offensively. We're 26th in offense. You have to have that balance. Right? Why does the defense end up breaking down at some point during games? Because the Lakers don't have enough offense to keep things going. Right? A football analogy, right? You see, yes, defense wins championships. Absolutely. But you need to have an offense that balances. You look at, like in football, right? You have some of these elite defensive teams. They're #1 defensive team in the league, and they have a losing record. It's like, how? Because the offense can't offset and help the maintaining of the defense. Same thing. The Lakers have the defense. They just don't have the offense to help bail out and maintain the defense. You have to find that proper balance. We need offensive interjection, and not just like okay offensive interjection. We need elite offensive interjection, which is what Zach Lavine would provide. That's the one thing he's good at. It's what he's built his career on, just being a bucket. A guy that could just consistently game in and game out go get a bucket. And his off nights are better than Reeves and D'Lo's okay nights. So that's the difference. Let's see. Lavine and Drummond solves a lot of our issues. Not all, but a lot. Yeah, I've said he solves about 70%. 70% of the Lakers' issues are solved if you go get a guy like Zach Lavine and Andre Drummond. Basically gives you your center. It gives you your elite scorer. Tyler is definitely a fortune teller. I wish, believe me, I wish. Believe me, I'd be loaded. I'd be loaded as hell. No, again, it's just about like surveying like and understanding the way that trades work, what guys make sense, what guys would be available, and what guys are realistic. You know, it's not that I'm like, oh, I don't have any insight. Again, I say it all the time. I'm just a fan. I'm just a guy. But I have an understanding of like, okay, these guys make sense to fit the Lakers. They're available or they may be available, right? And some of it was just lucky guess, right? But a lot of it was just the understanding of like, okay, these guys make sense for the Lakers this year. They're not going to cost a fortune. You're not going to have to sell the farm to go get these guys. Things like that. Zach is a dunk champion, yes. No, there's a difference between videos where I talk about the news that is out, and then there's a difference between videos where I personally say in the video, these are the guys that I think are going to come and that I like. Like, there was no reports about Rui Hachimura. I literally was like, hey, Rui Hachimura makes a lot of sense for the Lakers, blah, 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 and I made a whole video about him. D'Angelo Russell, there were no reports about D'Angelo Russell. It was just like, hey, this guy makes sense. He needs to get off the Wolves anyway because they're not going to re-sign him. It's not working. It's not fitting. Yeah, he makes sense for the Lakers. Like, there's a difference between me telling the news, the Dejounte Murray, the Zach Lavine, the Kyrie stuff when that happened, all that stuff, and then the guys that I'm like, hey, me personally, I could see this guy being a Laker. That's a big difference. I was like, what, 4 or 5 out of for those guys last year. I did get a couple wrong, but for the most part. How long is Zach Lavine going to be injured? We need to see him play. Yeah, that's the biggest problem. So he's out probably till like the middle of January, something like that. We will see. Murray is the better option, better defender, and all-around player, but only I would favor Murray if we can get a Clint. If we could get if Murray is the only is the only guy you can get, then no, it doesn't make any sense. But if you can get a Clint Capella, if you could get a Sadiq Bey, if you could get something else with that to kind of help offset that, well, then now you're talking. Now you're cooking with fire. Let's see. As it stands, the Lakers show. Stop talking bad about my nephew. We ain't teach him D up here in Seattle. Just a bucket, and that's the Lakers need. Plus, he'll be closer to home. LOL. No, I am big on the whole Lavine thing, right? Believe me. And yeah, I mean, he's a bucket getter, but that's what the Lakers need. Like I said, the offset is to go get a guy that could just put the ball in the hoop. That's what you need. You need a guy that could just go put the ball in the hoop. Let's see. Drummond is he's if he was your starter, but as your backup, as your guy to just come in and play 15 minutes a game, he's solid. A lot of y'all sleeping on the guy that number 55. He knows how to shoot. He is a rookie. Yeah. Who could they get as far as perimeter defense if they trade Russell and Rui for Lavine? I talked about it. Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal. Those would be two guys that I think are realistic that I would target heavily and solve a lot of our problems. Drummond is a center, though. So would they take others who aren't centers? What backup do we have that the Bulls would want? I mean, they're probably not winning anything this year. Like, their plan. So more likely than not, if Chicago makes a deal for Lavine, they know, like, we're not winning a chip this year. But it's about, like, what can we get this year, see how it looks, and then can we put the other pieces to the puzzle next year? Right? That's the idea. So if I don't see them having an issue trading trading Andre Drummond, right? Maybe they would take back a Hayes just for, like, argument's sake. Maybe they do something like that. I don't know. But more likely than not, sorry, give me a second. I'm going to open this can. My throat's really dry, so I'm trying to not be sick anymore. But yeah, so something along those. Like, I just think that it wouldn't be a big issue. Right? I don't think that they would have, like, I don't think they'd be like, oh, Andre Drummond is a no-go, right? I just think it depends on, what that looks like. What are Chicago's plans? What are they looking to do? Right? They still might make other moves at the trade deadline. Right? Maybe they flip D'Lo. Maybe it's a 3-team deal. Maybe, there's a lot of options there. Gabe Vincent was supposed to be our Caruso F injuries. Yeah, he was supposed to offset a lot. DeMar is out of the question, guys. He doesn't want to leave. Yeah, I don't see DeMar anymore. We need offense. Lavine simple. Yeah. All the trades will need Rui and Reeves, the young Lakers. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to give up something to get something. Let's see. I would rather choose Dejounte Murray than Lavine, but it doesn't work. Then get Lavine and some role players like Drummond and Torrey Craig. That's what I'm saying. Go get Drummond and Torrey Craig, and we in business. Zach Drummond and Caruso, that would be awesome. Reeves worth 2 first, then swap the 3 you got for Murray. Keep D'Lo as a 6th man and get Chip. I mean, I just don't see the Lakers trading Reeves. So Lavine and Prince would be our shooters, Tyler. We need a 3. We got one of them. Serious question. Are we going to get one of them? So I mean, Prince. As I said, Prince and Lavine would basically be your off-ball shooters, but also Lavine and his ability to score the basketball, period. The other thing would be, as far as, like, fixing your, like, upgrading the 3, that's why I mentioned, like, a Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, Royce O'Neal, you could get for, I mean, he's only making like $10 million. So you could get there easily. I mean, you could even do like a Gabe Vincent trade if you needed to with some picks. So something like that. What's up with Detroit? Do they have a sale going on? I don't know. I don't know what Detroit's going to do. That's going to be very interesting. It'll be very interesting. But I don't like, again, if they're going to sell anybody, like they're going to want to sell like the guys that we just don't need, right? Or they're going to sell like Boyan, but they're going to overprice him and all that stuff. I'd stay away from No, Zach Lavine had a bad attitude. He just thought he was a superstar. The Lakers, what's up with Bogdan from Bogdanovich from the Pistons. Nobody talking about him because they just want too much for him. Right? I wanted him last year, but he problem is he's like they want like 2 firsts for him, and he's just not worth it. Right? Maybe if it comes down, maybe. But I don't really see him making that much sense anymore. It wouldn't hurt, but I just think that they want too much for him. Did the players really turn on Darvin? I don't think they've turned on him yet, but I think that there's definitely a stir, right? Some of the comments lately have been very interesting. Would Lavine trade straight up, or is it guaranteed that we'd get somebody else in addition to him, like a Drummond? A definitely, if not another center, would we get? I mean, there's never a guarantee. Right. I mean, you never know. They might just say like, hey, no, we only want to trade Lavine. So that's it. Then at that point, then the Lakers would have to go look for something else. The problem is like, who's going to be available? Right. Valanciunas is a guy, right? Would the Pelicans, depending on what you give up for Lavine, would the Pelicans work with you, especially the Pelicans continue to be bad, right? Maybe they would work with you to like maybe unload Valanciunas just to get something in return. So maybe you could work out of Valanciunas. Maybe you're looking at, some other. So maybe you're contacting Detroit and trying to get somebody. They have like 1 million centers, young centers, stuff like that. Maybe you're going and getting like a Kelly Olynyk, right, from Utah. Maybe you're just trading for him straight up. So I think it just depends. I mean, there's options, and that's not even counting like who's going to become available, who ends up getting bought out. Does somebody end up getting bought out at some point, right? So there's definitely options there. But I think you could convince them to trade Drummond. Like, I don't think Drummond is that much of a huge asset for them, right? His salary, they're not going to be able to trade him. Like, nobody's going to give him. Maybe you throw in a second, right? You go, here's a 2nd round pick if you throw Drummond in the deal, right? You do something like that, sure. I think a small trade for a backup center would be enough. Definitely not enough. I mean, we need a backup center, but that doesn't solve anything. Like, it solves some, but like Lakers need scoring, they need 3-point shooting, they need upgrades at the 2 and 3. I mean, Braun played good with Chalmers. He wasn't the point guard for that. Yeah, but Chalmers played a ton off the ball. He was, 3-and-D style guy. He kind of was just the initiator. He would bring the ball up, give it to LeBron, and then go spot up in the corner or whatever. LeBron is living at point guard. It doesn't have a choice. Yeah. But what if the Bulls don't want D'Lo and they ask for Reeves for Lavine? Would they do it? Lakers won't do it for Lavine. And look, I don't think Chicago wants D'Lo. It's just more salary filler, right? Because D'Lo is basically an expiring contract. If he's coming off the bench for Chicago, D'Lo's not going to want to be. He's not going to opt back in, right? So more likely than not, to me, D'Lo would just be salary filler, right? The real piece for them would be Rui, which makes sense. That's a piece that makes sense for them, and then they probably get a young guy or two. Let's see. Neither. Trade bum D'Lo. I would trade him for a bag of chips and a half-eaten sandwich. They very likely will at some point. Did the team turn on Darvin Ham? I don't think so yet, but I definitely think that there's a stir. I'm still picking Lavine, bro. Likewise. Bless you, Tyler. Thank you. Appreciate you. Lavine costs too much. So does Murray. He costs more assets. Lavine would just cost players. The only major trade asset we have is AR. If we want to upgrade the team by a lot, we have to trade him, unfortunately. Yeah, but which I don't think he's untouchable. I don't think the Lakers wouldn't trade him. I just think it depends on what is available. Why do you believe Wood has been put in purgatory? I have zero idea. Your guess is as good as mine in that regard. He can't be worse than Jackson Hayes. It makes zero sense to me, right? I don't know why Darvin Ham refuses to play Wood at all. My guess is I don't know. Maybe he said something or he did something and Ham's like punishing him right now. But because he's not worse defensively than Hayes, and he's definitely not worse offensively. So I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But all right, I'm gonna power through a couple more questions here, and I'm gonna skate out of here because I've been going for almost 2 hours. So um, let's power through a handful of questions. Obviously, any super chats, I'll answer those and preference those. But outside of that, I'm just gonna get through as many questions as I can in the next like 5 minutes and then skate out of here. When has LA ever done a trade that was reported recently? Trade Rob makes. I'll come out of left field. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, the AD trade, the Utah trade. The only thing that was changed was the D'Lo. But like Beasley, Vanderbilt, and Mike Conley were the three guys that the Lakers were targeting all offseason. Russell Westbrook trade. The only ones that were like surprised were D'Lo and Rui, but all the other ones were heavily reported. I mean, even like the previous years, like I said, the Russell Westbrook trade was heavily reported. LeBron to the Lakers was heavily reported. AD to the Lakers was heavily reported. So yeah, I mean, Zach Lavine, bro, he had a chance to join us, but chose Chicago. Lakers didn't have the money to sign him. When he had his new contract, it wasn't that he wanted to come. Lakers couldn't sign him. I'm taking Lavine any day yet. I prefer Lavine, but he can be less injury prone. Yeah, that's the concern without a doubt. Lavine is a solid pickup if Drummond is included. Agreed. Got to go get Drummond in the deal also because you need that center. Hey, what are you doing? Sorry, my dogs. What are you doing, old man? Lavine plays no defense and has a terrible contract. The Bulls are literally better without him. The Bull, I already answered why the Bulls are better without him. Again, redundancy. That's the summarized version. Somebody just said Lavine is Westbrook 2.0. Yeah, that's why I ignored the comment. Let's see. What makes a Lavine trade so simple to conquer? Does Chicago truly want anyone we have that they're willing to give up? They got to get something back to, which is why Rui would be the piece that they would look at as like the prize piece. That's why they're trying to push for Reeves, but they're not going to get Reeves, and they're going to have to settle. They need to get Lavine off the team because it doesn't make sense. The bridges are burnt. Both sides want done. They can't bring him back. If they bring him back, they're in trouble. So it's gonna be tough. Lakers don't want a third max contract on their books. They are not trading for Lavine. What makes you think that? Did you talk to them personally, or what? Because all the reputable reports say otherwise. So Lavine and Dorian Finney-Smith, both on this team would be amazing. I agree. I would love that. That solves like 90% of all of our issues. At that point, it's just effort and hustle. Let's see. Lavine would be horrible. Lavine would be horrible for us. What makes you think that? I'd give up a couple players that DNPs and grab a couple mediocre players. Yeah, but like who? That's the problem. What trade package do you think gets Lavine deal done realistically? Probably D'Lo, Rui, JHS. Probably throw in like a Maxwell Lewis or a Max Christie. So you kind of supplement the young guys, and then maybe like a second or two. You're like, hey, I'm not giving a first. We're not giving up Reeves. Give up a couple seconds. So then they get they can keep D'Lo or they can look to flip them. Rui would be the prize for them. They get a young point guard, which they need, and Jalen Hood-Schifino. They get another, 3-and-D style wing and Max Christie or Maxwell Lewis, one of those two guys that can grow and develop, or they can use them as trade chips at some point. And then you get a couple seconds as like, thanks for doing business. And then, like I said, D'Lo, they could keep, trade, whatever, right? They get off of Lavine's contract, which is what they need to do. They get off of the issues with Lavine and what's going on with the organization and just the team and stuff. And it's a win-win for both sides. And you got to keep in mind too, the there's not. It's what is the competition, right? If there were several teams interested in Lavine and there was a potential bidding war, I would say the Lakers are in trouble. But if the Lakers are really the only team interested in Lavine, which I don't doubt, then Chicago needs to get rid of Lavine. So they're in a position of leverage. That's what it's about. Andrew, coming out $2 super chat. Lavine, Braun, AD, big three is unprecedented. Incredible. Yeah, I love the idea of Lavine, Braun, and AD. I do think that those three would be great. I think you got basically balance you need. You got the dominant two-way center. You got the LeBron James. You got your legit scorer. You got your defensive guys. Like I said, if you can upgrade, into a Dorian Finney-Smith or a Royce O'Neal on top of those guys, you get an Andre Drummond. You basically just solve all of your problems. Everything, check off the boxes, you good. Let's go. So I am with you 1,000%. We need Drummond. Agreed, we do. Drummond would be nice. If he can get back to his defensive self, that's the question. So, let's see. But if Zach is cheaper, you go for Zach. As far as like asset wise, I do. Get Dejounte Murray, Rob Pelinka. We need Drummond. He's back. Yeah. What else? Zach Lavine would be better version of Russell Westbrook. I wouldn't really compare him to Russell Westbrook, but he would be solid. What's going on, LeBronto? Appreciate you being here. What's hearing about LeBron being injured? Yeah, he has like a foot issue or something. But I think he's just old. I'd rather have Zach too. I am right there with you. What else? Personally, I would want to have two real backup centers in Andre and Wood, just because of how we were so thin at the backup center last playoffs. Run with DT and Mo. Yeah, gotta get, like I said, you gotta get Andre Drummond. You gotta get something. It would be amazing. It would be. Don't hold your breath. That's probably not gonna happen, but it would be nice. Let's see. DeMar is better than Dejounte. I agree. Do you think the Lakers are not playing Woods as the teams would ask for him during trades? Probably not, because again, he's a vet minimum contract. So like, how many? Like, what are you gonna get for him anyway? And two, like, wouldn't you want to display his talents? Wouldn't you want to show teams like, hey man, this dude's cooking, right? Like, let's see. Sorry, trying to find something for me real quick. He would fit very well with him. Lavine is only 27 too, yeah, which would be a good long-term piece also. No way they do it again. I mean, if we had the proper assets, but not for Lavine, or not for Markkanen. Like, I could see them trading us like Olynyk and stuff like that, but not Markkanen. Yeah, Lavine can score the ball. He is a bucket. That is for sure. But let's see. Lavine hasn't proven anything, but DeMar doesn't want out of Chicago. Yeah, but a lot of players haven't. I mean, AD hadn't proved anything until he got to the Lakers either. It's about fit, it's about role, it's about everything. People asking for us. Yeah, like Zach Lavine DeMar DeRozan himself. He said it twice. Let's see. Tyler, all this trade talk is fake and a distraction from the team. I don't think any of these players are coming. Front of will just make marginal trades at the deadline, and that is fun. Look, I talked about it earlier, Sally. Like, I don't mind. Like, if the Lakers just went and got Dorian Finney-Smith, Andre Drummond, and Royce O'Neal, like, I wouldn't be totally against that, right? I still think we need a consistent go-to scorer, but that's definitely upgrades. Like, that would solve a good chunk of our issues. That would solve like 50% of our issues. So, yeah, I think it just depends. But Andrew, Zach Lavine is the one. I'm right there. I do. I just think he makes the most sense. I really do. I just, if you can get Zach Lavine, get Zach Lavine. Like, right? If he's available, you don't have to make it too complicated. Just go get it. I don't think you're gonna have to sell the farm to go get him. I think you'll be all right. Forget Zach Lavine and Murray. Let's try for OG or Donovan Mitchell. Lakers don't have enough assets to do it. They don't. If you're a Hawks fan, why are you here? Mazza, you scared we're gonna take Murray? Yeah, just people trolling. People trolling. Nothing better to do. Every year we hear Lakers don't have assets, Lakers don't have this, Lakers don't have that, and every year the Lakers seem to figure something out. So every year those people look silly. So let them continue to look stupid. Sorry, trying to find something. I'm not sold on either, but Lavine over Murray for me. Likewise. I said, I don't think that they're the best options. I don't think either of them are the best options there are. But I just think if you had to choose between the two, I just think you take, with this current roster, you take Zach Lavine. Zach and his huge contract makes him realistic. Exactly. Which is why there's not going to be many teams that are going to trade for him. Lavine is definitely better. It's going to be like the Andrew Wiggins situation before he started sucking, where as a third option he'll thrive. I think so too. I think he'll because he'll get to just do what he's best at. He doesn't have to worry. You don't have to worry about anything else, right? You get Zach Lavine. Literally, what I tell him: don't worry about nothing else. You play your game. Go get me buckets. You get the ball. You have the green light. Shoot the ball. Go if you need it. If you want to take 20 shots, go take 20 shots. Shoot the basketball. Go score. Murray is not going to happen. Knock straight 4 picks from him. Yeah, exactly. I agree. 100%. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Drummond will rebound and miss it and miss every layup. Yeah, he has his good and his bad. Believe me, Zach Lavine is the better fit. I think so too. I think Zach Lavine is the better fit also. I am right there with you. If we get Zach Lavine, this should be the lineup. Ron, point guard, Lavine, shooting guard, Taurean Prince, Vanderbilt, and AD. Yeah, I lean towards that also. They are both clutch players. Yes, true. He needs some milk. We got Andrew coming out with the $5 super chat. I understand people being afraid of Lavine's contract and injury risk, but to say he isn't a good fit is absurd. He fits like a glove. He's an amazing fit. Yeah, I have zero questions about his fit. I definitely have concerns about his injury history. But like I said, last year he played, 77 games, something like that? And then the year before that, he played 69 games. As long as he's playing that, as long as he's giving us like 60 to 65 games, we'll be fine. And then, his contract, like I said, I'm not really that concerned of his contract. The only thing that really affects is the cap, not the cap space, because Lakers don't have cap space, right? Like it affects the tax, right? But the Lakers if the Lakers trade for Zach Lavine, their roster is going to be locked up for the next year or so anyway, right? The only way that they're going to be able to do anything else is another trade anyway, which next year picks get picked up. But at this point, I think you're basically locked into your roster. And look, if Lakers win a championship, no one's going to care. Caruso, Drummond, and Lavine. I would love that. Raps will have a fire sale soon. I believe they will too. But the Lakers just don't have the assets to get pretty much anybody on them because they're ridiculous. What's Torrey Craig's 3-point percentage? I think it's like 36%, something like that, off the top of my head. Something like that. 36 and some change. Also wanted to play with LeBron. DeMar thought he was going to the Lakers. He said that in Taylor Rooks interview. Who doesn't want to play for the Lakers, bro? Yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, I'm late. No worries. Appreciate you being here. A lot of players want to play with LeBron and AD. What does that mean? I'm giving up Reeves in an Atlanta trade if we can get back Capella and our original target, Kobe Buffkin. Kobe Buffkin would be nice. You got to get, you got to get Capella and a few other things in that deal also. But it must, we get Lavine. It's literally the piece we need. I am right there with you. Right there with you. Lavine is going to cost a lot, but he fits the Lakers perfectly. Watch us get nobody. Don't even put that in position or in existence. Let's see. Oh, they're going to make some trades. I'll bet my whole bank account on. I think they make some trades also. I don't really have concerns about them making a trade. It's just what do those trades look like? Right now, the Lakers can make a small trade. Yeah, but what is that trade? You're better off waiting and seeing what becomes available. Like getting Kelly Olynyk. I like the idea of Kelly Olynyk. I think he helps a lot. Also, just gives you some physicality, gives you some floor spacing for a big man. I'll take Kelly Olynyk and Lauri Markkanen over Lavine all day. I would too. I just don't see us having the assets to actually trade for him. I don't think Lakers are going to trade AR for Lavine, but we shall see. I don't think they will either. Max will be gone too. I think Max will end up being gone also. Because you're gonna have to give something to get some. I wouldn't mind DeRozan playing an Iggy type role for us. I wouldn't mind him on the Lakers. I just don't think he's going to anymore. I did for a while, but our injury, horrible excuse. Like I said, you can't make decisions based on just solely on injuries. I could play better than Hayes. I think Lakers don't want to trade Woods, so they're not playing him. Woods has a cheap contract. I mean, I don't know. You're gonna have to play Woods at some point. Who is your all-time Lakers starting five? That's a good question. Are we going with just like who are the players or who are the best fits? Because most people would put Magic and LeBron, but I just think like that doesn't make sense if you're gonna have Magic. Because I just think Magic and LeBron basically do the same thing, right? But if you're talking about like all-time Lakers, then you got to go Magic, LeBron, Magic, Kobe, LeBron, Kareem, and Shaq. But if I'm going for like fit-wise, then I'd probably put LeBron at the point. Probably go like LeBron, Kobe, like Worthy, Kareem, and Shaq, something like that. Just because, like, you have like LeBron can serve as your point guard, right? So at that point, you just kind of you want to find the best fits possible. So something like that. Our problem is scoring and affects our defense. Murray doesn't fix this yet. Lavine, Braun, and AD compares to 2011 Heat. Lavine is an easier trade to get. Not a lot of competition. I think Chicago would have to give more for the Lakers to take him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They'd have to give up. You got to like your argument is like, hey, we're saving you right now. I mean, there were literally reports that the Lakers view this as like doing Chicago a favor, which they're right. I think the team began to notice how the Lakers overvalue their young assets. Look at how hyped THT was, but now he's in a Jazz and he's irrelevant. I don't think it was that. I just think they just didn't want to trade their young guys just for the sake of trading their young guys because they've done a good job of developing guys, right? Like that goes a long way too. Is just development. And the Lakers hit so well on so many draft picks that it was like these guys are actually being serviceable and being very good, right? So that's the big difference. But the Kings are going to sneak and take Lavine. I mean, maybe there's reports that they would. I just don't see that making any sense in my opinion. But you never know. I mean, it happens. Stuff happens, right? So you never know. Ham needs to change their style of offense. That's another convo for another day, though. Yeah, agreed. I think the Kings have a better trade package. I mean, they could put together a much better trade package, but I just don't see that making sense. Like, you already have De'Aaron Fox. Let's see. 1% better is better than 0%. Exactly. like I said all the time, if you can make a trade that let's say the Lakers are 50-50 to win a championship this year. All right, if you can make that even 51%, do it. Kawhi Leonard is the best option. That'd be wonderful, but yeah, I don't see that happen. All right. We got a super chat in. So I will probably end this stream with this super chat, unless another super chat comes in. But yeah, we've been going almost 2.5 hours. So Andrew, coming out $10 super chat. I really appreciate that. I would trade every pick and asset we have, every pick swap, everything, if we could get Lavine, Caruso, Drummond, and Dorian Finney-Smith. Lavine, Caruso, Dorian Finney-Smith, Bron 80 starting lineup is otherworldly. Lakers need to go all in. If the Lakers could do something like that, I would too. I would trade Reeves. I would do basically whatever you needed to do, you do it. If I had to trade every pick swap, every first, right? If I had to, do some backdoor deal where, like, hey, we'll kick you down a milli, right? Whatever. Like, whatever I had to do, if I can make that, because I agree with you 100%. I mean, that solves pretty much everything, right? Because you got a backup center. You got basically an upgrade at shooting guard, upgrade at small forward. You got Zach Lavine. All right. I mean, you're talking, that starting five is literally comparable with Denver. Or not Denver, Boston. As far as fit, starting five, talent, all that stuff. Defense, offensive, versatility, right? And you'd be deeper, right? You'd still be deeper. So if you could find any way to make that happen. I don't think it would be that far off. Like, again, I don't know about Caruso, but I could see you getting Dorian Finney-Smith, Andre Drummond, Zach Lavine. And like I said, if you can get Royce O'Neal, that's, again, not – Dorian Finney-Smith or Royce O'Neal aren't as dynamic as Caruso, but, that wouldn't hurt either. Like, Lavine, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis starting lineup is still – arguably almost as good. Caruso's just more dynamic and does a little more than like a Royce O'Neal. But like that would be ridiculous. Ridiculous. Yeah, that would be that. And it's really not that far. It's not impossible. Is it likely to happen? Probably not. Could it happen? You never know. Stranger things have happened. But anyway, I'm going to skid on out of here. Finish the stream. Like I said, we've been going for a while, and I'm very thankful for all of you hanging out here, all of you just chilling with me. Make sure to like that video. Please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Last I checked, I was 10 subs away from 18K. I am 10 subs away from 18K. Hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, take a second, hit that subscribe button. Help me out. Let me get to 18K. That would be beautiful. Chef kiss. But you guys are awesome. Thank you all so very much for hanging out with me. Thank you for just having this conversation. Definitely got to do this again soon. Don't miss the post-game stream and all that stuff after the game. What is it, tomorrow? Play tomorrow, right? Yeah, so check out the post-game stream. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. You guys are awesome. Again, appreciate you. See you in the next one.